Good evening and welcome to the November 18th, 2014 City Council meeting. Would you all please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? And Mr. Dick Mayer, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Please join with me as we pledge allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, welcome. We've got a great crowd. We've got a lot of business on the agenda, so we'll go ahead and get started. I have the solemn responsibility and the great joy to swear in some new police officers, so I would ask them to come forward along with the chief, and I'll come to the podium to swear them in. Yeah, go ahead, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor Farrell, Deputy Mayor Burbidge, and members of the council. It is my privilege to introduce the newest members of the police department, and they'll be given the oath of office tonight by Mayor Farrell. First officer is Officer R.B. Blackshear. He grew up in Maryland and served in the Army National Guard, where he was a squad leader with the Seaburn Response Team. He was previously employed at the Federal Detention Center in Des Moines. He joined the Federal Way Police Department in December of 2013 and graduated from the Basic Police Academy in June. Next to Officer Blackshear is Officer William Lemon. He grew up in the Seattle area. He has a bachelor's degree from Western Washington University. He was previously employed as a security at the Space Needle. He joined the Federal Way Police Department in November of 2013 and graduated from the Basic Police Academy in June. Next is Officer Clint March. He grew up in Colville and Spokane. He served in the United States Army, 10th Mountain Division, where he was a sergeant. He served a combat tour in Afghanistan. He joined the Federal Way Police Department in January of 2014 and graduated from the Basic Police Academy in August. He graduated number 2 overall in his academy class. Last is Officer Andrew Cedarberg. He grew up in Wisconsin. He came to the Federal Way Police Department as an experienced police officer from the city of West Bend. He played college volleyball and continues to play for fun in his spare time. He joined the Federal Way Police Department in August and graduated from Washington Equivalency Academy in October. Please join me in congratulating these new officers. Over here.
All right. Officers, would you please raise your right hand and repeat after me? I, please state your name.
I, William March,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I am a citizen of the United States
that I am a citizen of the United States
and the state of Washington,
and the state of Washington,
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States
that I will support the Constitution and laws of the United States
and the Constitution for the state of Washington,
and the Constitution for the state of Washington,
and will, to the best of my judgment,
and will, to the best of my judgment,
skill, and ability,
skill, and ability,
truly, faithfully,
truly, faithfully,
diligently, and impartially,
diligently, and impartially,
perform the duties of police officer
perform the duties of police officer
in and for the city of Federal Way,
in and for the city of Federal Way,
County of Kings, state of Washington,
County of Kings, state of Washington,
and such duties as prescribed by law.
and such duties as prescribed by law.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
Let's front and center, gentlemen. Let's take one photo here. If there are family members here that would like to take the photo, please do so.
Jim, give me the paper.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Give me.
All right, here we go. Well, you have to smile.
All right. All right, we have a proclamation for the Buyer Beware Human Trafficking. Deputy Mayor, would you please read our proclamation?
Yes, I'd be happy to. I understand that Robert Beiser, Director of Seattle Against Slavery, is present tonight to accept the proclamation. Yes, would you please come forward and to the podium? And after I'm through reading the proclamation, I'll present it to you. Whereas we are committed to public safety, health, and well-being, and economic growth within our city, and whereas commercial sexual exploitation, which includes sex trafficking, is growing throughout King County and Washington, thriving in cities and significantly threatening the safety and well-being of the children and vulnerable adults being purchased, and whereas hundreds of our country's children, often coming from foster care system, are at risk of being commercially sexually exploited each year. And whereas the industry is especially harmful for those being purchased, with the majority of women in prostitution fitting the state and federal definitions of being trafficked and wanting to leave if they felt they had alternative choices for survival. And whereas there is a growing body of evidence that targeting sex buyers is a pragmatic, effective way to dry up the commercial sex industry. And whereas doctors and health professionals assembled by the Institute of Medicine issued Confronting Commercial Sexual Exploitation and Sex Trafficking of Minors in the United States, which suggests a particular emphasis on deterring demand. And now, therefore, we, the undersigned mayor and council members of the City of Federal Way, do hereby proclaim we are committed to promoting a safe and healthy community, upholding the rule of law, and have taken a strong position against human trafficking, and are prepared to collaborate and stand in support of efforts to combat it.
Mayor,
Welcome.
Deputy Mayor, council members, thank you so much for bringing this to the attention of the Federal Way community. Seattle Against Slavery is a coalition that works on the issue of human trafficking across King County, and we know all too well that the commitment of elected officials, law enforcement, and community members to address the issue of trafficking is essential to keep the members of our community safe. This new approach to addressing the issue of sex trafficking, holding the men who buy sex accountable for the harm and violence being caused, represents true promise and opportunity for us to keep our community safer. And so I thank you for your courage and dedication to working on this issue and for delivering this proclamation today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. It's important work. Thank you for the work you do. All right, and now we have a presentation, Kimberly House, family therapist for Human Services Agency Institute for Family Development. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. Thank you, community members, for being here. My name is Kim House, and I'm a clinical supervisor at the Institute for Family Development. We provide a program called Parents and Children Together to the City of Federal Way, as well as other South County communities. The Institute for Family Development was founded in 1982 by a member of your Federal Way community, Charlotte Booth, who is still our leader at the Institute for Family Development. Our mission is to provide evidence-based services and interventions to families who are at risk of having their children removed from their home. We have been on the cutting edge of developing a program called Home Builders, or Intensive Family Preservation Services, over the past 30 years, and we just celebrated a anniversary, a 40-year anniversary this summer, celebrating 40 years of home builders. Over the course of the years at the Institute, our leadership realized that not only do we need to serve families who've come into contact already with Child Protective Services, families who have either had their children removed or are trying to get their children back, but to serve those families and try to prevent them from coming into contact with Child Protective Services and from needing those services. So our program PACT is based on an evidence base of using cognitive and behavioral therapies, as well as doing a process called motivational interviewing, which helps parents and family members to come up with their own goals and strategies for change. And what we as the therapists do is help them to actually put those strategies, which the evidence say works, into practice. And so we thank the City of Federal Way and the Human Services Commission for funding us for a number of years for our PACT program. For this next biennium, we will be served through the Human Services Commission. And so changing a little bit, we had received the CDBG funding for many years, but now it'll be more streamlined. So we want to thank you for that, and thank you for supporting the families of Federal Way. And I know I had 3 minutes, so I think I'm coming in right around that time. And I would also just like to ask if anyone has any questions. I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Oh, thank you, Kimberly. Council, do you have any questions? Oh, thank you for thank you very much for the work you do, Kimberly.
Thank you.
All right. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
All right. Now moving on to the. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. All right. All right. Now moving on to the Mayor's Emerging Issues and Report. We had a tremendous Veterans Day. We had a lot of things going on. As you could see from our screens, this is the picture that we took. We put some thought into how this picture was going to be taken. It's not often that as a father of a 7-year-old, you can go tell him to go play in 320th, one of the largest, busiest streets in South King County. But as you could see there, we actually shut down 320th for a period of about 15 minutes. We put up a big 60-foot flagpole. The flag is 15 by 25 feet. And I just want to say, John, can you make your way to the podium as I kind of give an introduction? This group shot, and this is sort of really the culmination of months of planning, but it really started from Robert Kellogg, a longtime citizen and resident of Federal Way, who just had a great idea. And I just want to thank the council and Robert Kellogg and John Hutton for the execution of the idea. You could see we redid the landscaping there, and we put the pole up, and this will be the product. I'm going to have John show the slideshow, but we just happened to be in Patty Murray, U.S. Senator Patty Murray's office the week before this, and as an offhand comment, I happened to bring this up and say, well, would you be interested in coming? And once we talked about renaming, once I mentioned we were going to rename one of the busiest thoroughfares in Western Washington, Veterans Way, she lit up like a Christmas tree and said, absolutely. And so there at the center of her picture, you can't really tell, is United States Senator Patty Murray, who helped raise our flag, along with King County Councilman Pete Von Reichbauer and Bob Kellogg. And we had $1,000 that went to the donation. John, am I stealing your entire presentation?
Absolutely not, sir.
That's the right answer. But anyway, okay, that's enough for a prelude. Go.
All right. Mayor Farrell, Deputy Mayor Burbidge, and members of City Council, I am so proud to be here to report back to you on our Raise the Flag event. What a great day it really was for all of us. Could not have had better weather. slightly chilly, according to some people, but we were able to get through that. Clear blue skies, as you can see. There's no photo retouching on that sky. It was absolutely beautiful. We had just enough wind to really make a statement with the huge flag. We had great guest speakers. We had tremendous turnout of our citizens. The feedback that we got was just terrific. As I kind of weave my way through, I apologize, there we go. That is, again, the great shot. That was taken from an elevated perch above a lift truck by a professional photographer who just did a great job of gathering such a huge crowd. It was really, really a great event. We had tremendous support from our community, tremendous support from our leadership. Councilmember Bob Selski, a West Point grad, was one of our speakers. Mayor Farrell, Rich Garmong. We just had, and Kimberly Shelton from our own community center. We were so proud of all of the speeches. Were so moving and made us all proud to be residents of Federal Way and the United States. What a terrific day. I just can't tell you enough about how happy we were, and the feedback, and I know all of you have gotten great feedback, it just makes you feel proud. We had tremendous support from our local veterans community. As you can see, we had all kinds of VFW personnel. We had National Guard. We had active duty soldiers and sailors there. It was really, really great. We had a giant banner that is displayed here in City Hall, just above the staircase, that actually has the depiction of the flag flying over Veterans Way. Very neat, and everybody was invited to sign that. We had great support from lots of different departments within the community. Public Works did a great job actually installing the flag. Police did a phenomenal job of keeping the entire area safe. The entire management team was there to support in many ways, and many of their children actually helped us out. Jerry Lynn Clark's sons were out passing out hand warmers to people, and we just had great support across the board. Dumas Bay came in with great coffee, hot chocolate, and cookies for everybody to enjoy. As you can see, the mayor standing in front of the giant South 320th, and below that, as you can see, it now says Veterans Way. The other speakers on the top is Councilmember Bob Selski and our own Kimberly Shelton there at the bottom. Obviously, Senator Patty Murray was quite a treat. Did a great job, has been a tireless advocate for our veterans' needs throughout the country. And as I mentioned, our PD just did a fantastic job. Their color guard really, really added. And I'd like to take a moment to also recognize Todd Beamer's band and their ROTC group that just did a fantastic job. There was some fancy dancing going on with the wind, and they did an impromptu color guard for two reasons. Number one, it was a great show where they guarded the flags because we needed to do a Pledge of Allegiance to begin the event, and of course the flag hadn't been raised yet. So we needed to bring out some flags, and we brought out the ones you see behind the mayor from the city council chambers, and we needed to protect those from the wind. So the ROTC group did an impromptu color guard for us and just did a great job of ceremonially guarding those flags and getting them to safety after the Pledge of Allegiance. So our own color guard, our PD color guard, really did a fantastic job. They really made an excellent show of it. If you got to watch them, you may have noticed that they were rotating ceremonially, but they do it so well and with such precision that you don't see them move. You just realize that there's a different officer in a different spot at each time. So as you can see, we had Pete von Reichbauer and the mayor just having a great time. You can see from the smiles, Patty Murray, everybody's having a great time. It was cool, but clear, and just couldn't ask for a much better day. So we're very proud of the event. A couple of shots of the flag actually going up, a couple of pictures of our honor guard. That's one of our detectives there at the bottom, and they just did a fantastic job. So that is quickly becoming one of my favorite photos. As I've told you in the past, the picture at night of the Federal Way Community Center is a favorite, and there's some shots of Celebration Park in the fall that are hard to beat. But this photo, as the mayor has said, will last in history and will really go down as redefining our city, our downtown core, and it shows our undeniable commitment to our veterans. So we're very proud to report on this event. So thank you very much. I'm happy to answer any questions.
John, John, tremendous work on getting the word out for this, and Marwan in regard to getting the pole in the ground and getting the other smaller flags put up. We kept actually adjusting the smaller flags. We kept trying to figure out what height where you could actually see the smaller flags that now, the 30 smaller flags that now line Veterans Way. John, tremendous work actually getting all those folks there and all of the things that had to come together. So, Councilmember Selski?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Farrell. And you know what, I also have to say thank you, John. What a great job that was, getting that all coordinated. Chris Carroll was a buzz of activity along with you, and everything just worked. Everything worked, the sound system, and whoever ordered the sunshine should be given a medal, because that backdrop is just incredible. And I'm really proud about us doing this as a city, because that flag in that area is going to serve as a beacon to how Federal Way supports and honors the veterans. And as a veteran, I'm very proud that we as a city have taken this step and have done this. I want to say thank you to the mayor. He's the one who really made this happen, took Bob Kellogg's idea and really ran with it with a purpose and with a sense of timing here to get it done before Veterans Day. So really proud about all that, and that along with, of course, renaming 320th, or not renaming, but providing the honorary name for 320th as Veterans Way. It's a proud day and a proud time for veterans. So thank everybody, all the staff, very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Selski. Councilmember Duclos.
Thank you, and I too want to thank all of staff for their hard work. It was a wonderful day. I especially want to thank Kimberly Shelton for speaking on behalf of women veterans who've served through the centuries in battle. They've been on the front lines, they've taken care of wounded soldiers, and they've been often forgotten, and she said that in her testimony. And I'm really glad that we highlighted that, and that we were able to find one of our staff members who was a veteran. And I really appreciated your effort to do that, Mayor, and I hope we will continue to include women when we're talking about veterans and other types of military service, because they've done a lot of work over the centuries in this country. So thank you.
Thank you. Agree wholeheartedly, and I want to make sure that their service is recognized as well. So thank you. Councilmember Moore?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also want to echo the words and thanking you for all the hard work you put into this. One of the questions I do have is, how many people were in attendance?
I have heard estimates of definitely over 800 and maybe as many as 1,200 people. And we did not do an individual count, but we could put an intern on counting those people in that photo and see how many we can get. There was a lot of people there. I felt, and one of the times I needed to run around behind the speakers, got up into 320th when the road was closed. There was lots of people on the opposite sidewalk during the event itself, lots, in excess of 100 for sure at one point, and so there was a lot of people there. My best guess would be close to 1,200 people.
How many, we got the tent and that was filled, and how many people does the tent usually fill?
We had over 100 chairs in the tent itself. That was full before 10:30. And then there was another, people kind of found out it was a touch warmer in there. The sun was warming the tent itself. And and then as they huddled, they were able to break the wind a little bit. So it was great. There was at least 200 to 300 under the tent.
Yeah, it did. And then I think what surprised me is that people just kept coming, and it kind of formed a crescent around the whole deal. And there were people almost to the point where they were on all sides. There were two moments that really stand out to me. And the first one was when the crowd did not know they were going to be in the picture. We knew it. We knew we were going to close off 320th. We had the crane in place. We had hired a photographer that was all ready to go, that I had met with the assistance of Chris Carroll, because we were looking for that shot, because we knew that we were going to want this for later, because it was a special moment in our city's history. But when I told the crowd, I said, hey, when I asked the crowd, hey, you want to be in a picture? And they all enthusiastically agreed. They all got up from their chairs and started walking in my direction. And that's when I realized how many people were there. And I was like, wow. And then when they kind of scaled, there's a little bit of an embankment, and then kind of came out onto the empty 320th, I got a sense or a grasp of how many people were there. And then there's a great picture. We didn't include it in in the slideshow, but there was a great moment in which they're undoing the flag, and the flag, it took 3 people to carry the flag over. It was about this wide, all folded up, and it keeps getting bigger. At one point, when they finally were unfurling it, and they were kind of just right at one point when the wind caught it, it just stood straight out. And there's this great picture of like 30 or 40 people going like that, looking up at the crowd, at the flag. It was just a great moment that I think, I saw some veterans that were very touched and had a lot of emotion about it. So I just can't, for those that were in attendance, it was great. And, thank you again to the council for supporting this. And Jean, any?
I felt so proud of our city that day. To watch that flag unfurl against the blue sky was just very inspiring, and I want to thank you and all of the others who played a role in bringing that experience to all of us, and it continues. Thank you.
It just started by a good idea. I mean, that's the thing. It was in June after Flag Day, and Robert Kellogg came in, and he came into my office, and he just had a great idea. And it's so funny, if somebody has a good idea and government gets behind it and we get a lot of people behind it, we can see this kind of thing. So John, thank you very much.
Thank you, and I do want to make one more statement. I'd be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to thank generous sponsor Harsh Investments in our community that sponsored generously $1,000 toward that, which offset the cost completely of the tent that we had there, and that was incredibly generous, and we appreciated that support. So.
Can you say what Harsh owns?
Harsh owns numerous properties in our community, and Mr. Mayor, you may have deeper knowledge. I believe they own several shopping centers in the community, and if you'd like to expound, I'd really appreciate the help.
I think where the Trader Joe's is in that area, and some other properties around town. So we were actually meeting in my office on possible economic development. We told them about this, and they said, we want to give you $1,000 to help pay for that tent. And so it paid for it. So
absolutely.
Anyway, all right. Well, let's now move on to the next issue. The next great thing we've got. What's happening on December 12th?
On December 12th, which is a Friday night.
This is a test.
This is a test. I had notes. We are showing the blockbuster smash Disney hit Frozen at the Federal Way Community Center, and that will be free. That movie starts at 7:30. We encourage you to get there a few minutes early, but not too early. Start rolling in around 7:15. We'll be having free popcorn and hot chocolate for everybody. We also ordered a special treat. We ordered the subtitled sing-along version. So for those of you who've had the good fortune of seeing it with your children or grandchildren numerous times, now you get to come and sing with them. So it will be a great show. We have the big 26-foot screen in the gym. It's going to be a great night. It'll be nice and cold outside to get you in the spirit. And we're also going to be having a very fun costume contest. And there will be some special guests in costume to help our esteemed judges, including Councilmember Susan Honda.
That's right. So, yeah, we need to get a little subcommittee together for the contest.
Special outfit too.
Oh, good. Good. All right. I'm not coming as Olaf. That's all I'm saying. I'm not. That's not going to happen. All right. Thank you. So that's the 12th. I had to negotiate to get the free hot chocolate in the gymnasium, but we're all there. All right. So tell us about tree lighting on December 6th.
The tree lighting is happening on Saturday, December 6th at Town Square Park. So this is a really cool new venue for this event. And I do have some great news for you. The tree was installed by our Parks Maintenance staff today. I just saw it on the cameras myself, and it looks great. So the tree is out there. We have some terrific entertainment for you. Some of our local entertaining groups, including the Harmony Kings, Jet Cities Chorus, and the Brigadoon Elementary School Honor Choir, under the direction of Lynn Olson, will be performing. A couple of special guests will be arriving on an unusual mode of transportation this year. There's a certain overweight fellow that's very jolly that will be showing up on a fire truck, graciously presented by South King County Fire. And so we're very happy to hear that. He will be out there. There will be refreshments to warm you up. Dress warm. Come out and enjoy a great evening at Town Square Park with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have the same professional sound that Councilmember Bob Selsky mentioned. So the sound will be great. The visual will be great. The tree will be lit and decorated. It is going to be a great show.
Saturday, December 6th, at what time?
Saturday, December 6th at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
So 4 o'clock is just as it's getting real dark, and it will be lit in a new and special way at 5 o'clock sharp.
All right. Councilmember Honda.
I went by today as staff was adjusting the tree, and I'd like to thank them. I know they got the tree as perfect as it could be, and it is absolutely beautiful.
Awesome.
Even undecorated, it's beautiful. So.
Yeah, we got a really tall one, but this is not going to be the permanent tree. We wanted to make sure, as we're designing our town square park, we don't know quite exactly, and we've got Ida Otteson here with Nakano, and as we're designing it, we didn't want to like plant. We can't move this thing once we actually plant the permanent one. So once we get the park plans in place, we're actually going to grow a permanent tree that's going to get bigger every year. So, all right, and Councilmember Maloney.
Thank you. I just wanted to make an observation. Last year at this time, or maybe a little bit earlier than this time, we were talking about where should we do the tree lighting, and it was a bit of a debate. And now we have that answered year in and year out. I mean, every year. So it's nice to know that we have a permanent location now for the tree lighting.
A town square park.
Town Square Park.
All right. In the middle of town center, which we'll talk about in a little while. Good setup. Thank you. All right, John?
May I make one more announcement?
I guess.
I'd like to invite the entire public to come to a park planning session this Saturday from 9:30 to 12 at the Federal Community Center. The mayor mentioned Ida Otteson from Nakano and Associates will be there along with her team, and we would love to have your input on what amenities you would like to see in the new park. So that park is an ongoing process of development and design, and Ida and her team are great, and so we'd like you to come out and get your ideas on paper with our design team. So thank you very much.
John, thank you very much, Mayor. We really need your feedback because the council and I are going to be working on this issue, and we expect to have some sort of final plan by late spring. We hope in order to be able to move forward on what the future of our town square park looks like. So, and we asked Ida to be here today along with her team members because we're going to be talking about property acquisition immediately adjacent to that site. All right. Thank you very much, Don.
Thank you.
All right. Good work. We had a Neighborhood Connection meeting last Thursday. It was our 6th and final one of the year. We're going to give a wrap-up at some point. We had a great time. The Neighborhood Connections are essentially another name for town hall meetings, but with one very special exception, and that's that it's not just one and done. We're going to go back to those neighborhoods and follow up and measure the metrics of not only the concerns raised, but the metrics of crime and traffic in those individual neighborhoods. So be watching for early next year on the rollout of Neighborhood Connection 2.0. So, Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. I attended most of the Neighborhood Connection meetings, and it seems as if in every neighborhood the questions were pretty much the same.
Yes.
Regarding police and traffic,
Right.
traffic.
Yeah.
I was wondering if we could eventually get, as council members, get a list of the main questions
Yeah, I think that's it.
that we could get so we know what our citizens were concerned with.
You bet. One of the things we're going to do is we got the email addresses for all those folks because we had 6 of them. We did them primarily. We started on the west side of town and worked our way east, and ending up at Panther Lake on First Avenue. The first one was in Brigadoon in February. And doesn't that seem like a long time ago now? You're right. Actually, a lot of the questions were very similar. In fact, I always joke that our senior traffic engineer Rick Perez should have just been mic'd up and standing next to me for the whole meeting because we'd get to the certain part of the meeting and it's traffic where people are trying to come and go to their work or their to school and that kind of thing. So we'll have that for you. We are going to do a wrap up with all the folks that gave us their email addresses, and we're going to send out a blast and let them know what the plan is moving forward. But we'll include council in that and do some sort of a wrap up as well. So all right, and Sound Alliance report. Sound Alliance is an organization that's committed to helping the homeless in this community. They have approached myself and several council members in this community. Last Tuesday, actually, right after the big Veterans Day event, there was actually another Veterans Day event that Judge Larson and the Historical Society put on at Todd Beamer High School. That was a tremendous event. A lot of people from the community were there. Then later that night, we actually had just shy of 300 people. I'd say 270, 280 people at St. Vincent's Church, and they were very concerned about the homeless and the ability of homeless people to, just be able to get essential services or cleaning and laundry and those kinds of things. And so, one of the things I talked with them about, and they wanted to know whether they were going to have a partner in Federal Way in trying to address the issue of the homeless in our community. And of course, I said yes. Several of you were there. It was good to see the deputy mayor there, and Lydia, or I think you were there as well. And it was, and Councilmember Moore was there. It was a tremendous number of people who have a tremendous heart for helping the lesser fortunate. And boy, one need only step outside and see how cold it is now. I can't even imagine being homeless right now. It is absolutely unimaginable. And so we've got great expertise on our council, with Councilmember Duclos, who headed the Multi-Service Center, and the current head of the executive director of that was there as well. So we're going to be working on finding some resources and helping the least fortunate of our community and help them get back on their feet. So that's something that I committed to do and that we will do. Councilmember Duclos.
I was going to wait, but you brought this up, and I
Yes.
do want to mention it because you're going to talk about the Sound Transit alignment update.
Yep.
That really is impacting the multi-service center at this point in time because they have property right up on 99 that they are ready to build housing for veteran men and women who are homeless. And it would be one of the first programs that actually houses both men and women. And now, with this alignment going in, but it's not going to be decided on for 2 years, they had funding beginning to come in, and now the funders are drawing back because they're hearing that this project may not go. And they've had the property for quite some time. It was the recession that stopped things from being built, or otherwise this place would have been there. And I'm just wondering if there's something we can't do or say to Sound Transit, because waiting 2 years to find out what's going to happen is just unconscionable.
Well, I think actually, I think we're going to know. The EIS is in the process right now. We've been having a number of regional meetings with the area. In fact, the deputy director, the acting director of Sound Transit, was in my office yesterday, along with their government affairs representatives. I've had a number of meetings as we have. Members of the council and members of my staff. So the director was in here along with their government affairs person. We've had meetings with the South County mayors that are in that alignment, be it SeaTac, Kent, Burien, Des Moines, and we've been talking with those cities about what kind of alignments that we would like to see. Clearly, right now, Sound Transit under ST2 would terminate right now at about 240th, where Highline College is. That happens to be where the fork in the road is going to occur about whether there's a Highway 99 alignment or whether they go back on to I-5 and the I-5 alignment. Those are the two primary. There are different subsets of each of those, but those are the two primary differences. And so in order for Sound Transit to come south of 240th, the legislature, this is the parameters of where we're at with Sound Transit. In order for Sound Transit to proceed south of 240th, ST3 or Sound Transit 3 ballot initiative would have to be passed. At this stage, they're preliminary looking on trying for a ballot measure in 2016. That's when it would be on the ballot. In this legislative session or the next, they actually, Sound Transit needs to have the legislature give Sound Transit the authority to go out and bond. Now, the EIS is going to be completed very soon, and the 45-day comment period opens up, I would say, within about a month, in which time we will be able to either take collective action by means of some sort of ordinance or declaration, and then there is coalescing thought of those ourselves, Des Moines, SeaTac, et cetera, about expressing our desire for these two. But I do think, actually, in regard to the preliminary decision, I think we're going to hear something by what they told me yesterday was February. February is around when that we should get some sort of preliminary indication on what the preferred alternative route is. And then at that point, we'll weigh in and whether we support ST3 or not. And so we actually had a meeting, as you know, a meeting earlier this year talking about this, and then this is we'd love to hear your feedback. Letters just went out by Sound Transit to the property owners on either potential route, either 99 or I-5, and so we'll have a chance.
I wish we could get some decision, because they have paid for that property so that they could build housing for veteran male and female, and now it's up in the air, and they've been told by maybe in 2 years they might have some conclusion to it.
I think the 2-year distinction is 2 years from now is when it would likely, in a best case scenario, when ST3 will be on the ballot. We'll know the preferred route by February, March. And so I think that, but then it's a matter of process after that. It'll be up to the Sound Transit Board to determine, to make this decision about which direction which alignment they want to go with. So that's the current status. So I think it's important for us to let Sound Transit know what we want, and I think we're fixing to do just that.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Oh, Councilmember Safadas.
Thank you. And I'm also with Councilmember Dini regarding this issue, because King County Housing Authority is also a partner in this, and a press release has already gone out. So hopefully this doesn't stop or it's not halted because of this issue. So I'm totally in agreement with you.
Well, I do think there is a comment period, and I think that's once that comment period opens up, I think it's going to give us the opportunity to speak collectively, individually. We'll make sure that the public knows, and I think it's very critical wherever you happen to stand on this issue, wherever we happen to come down on this issue, that we voice our opinion during that official comment period. All right. So that's what I've got in regard to my report. Let's move on to the most important part of this evening, and that's public comment or citizen comment. Remember, unless you're speaking for 5 people, the comments are 3 minutes, and everyone knows the rules, and we'd ask you to just respect those. So our first is Gloria Larry, and then let's see here. Good evening. Oh, no, go ahead, please.
Good evening, Mayor Farrell, Deputy Mayor Burbidge, members of the City Council, distinguished guests, and fellow citizens. My name is Gloria Larry. I am here tonight with a question. I want to know if the mayor's office would consider establishing an office of accountability. The makeup of the panel would be citizens residing inside and outside of Federal Way. The responsibilities would be to review citizen complaints against elected and appointed officials. By the way, my intentions are not to embarrass or defame our hardworking city government employees, but this request does stem from an ongoing case of bullying and harassment implemented by Group Health Administration and supported by a select group of Federal Way Police, Tacoma Police, Federal Way City officials, citizen stalkers, and my neighbors. Orchestrated incidents include punching holes in my furniture and in kitchen cabinets. There are also phone taps, vehicle tracking that now include my daughter and grandson. I was targeted because upon Group Health's request, I spoke out about a history of a negative work environment. In a different situation at Group Health, I was forced to report a violation of HIPAA laws to Group Health's Office of Ethics and Compliance. Federal Way Police. This is Federal Way Police actions. I've called 911 4 to 5 times between December 2013 and October 2014 to report vandalism. The results has been more vandalism. I spoke with an attorney by phone. My time is up.
You get 30 seconds. Okay. Go ahead, please.
I spoke to an attorney by phone in September 2014. Within a week, I found holes punched in dining room chairs. October 14, I called my homeowner's insurance carrier to file a claim. Afterwards, I found more holes and deep scratches punched in the same chairs. April 2014, I had a talk with a Federal Way police officer here who told me that no one would believe my story.
All right, Ms. Leary, thank you for being here tonight. My chief of staff is going to come over and get your information, and we've got this here, but I'd like him to maybe get a little bit more information from you, okay? If he can meet you in the back. He can meet you in the back of the room in just a few minutes, okay? And thank you very much for coming tonight. All right, Abdirazak Harsh, or Hash. And then Keith Livingston's on deck.
Yes. I need to do. My name is Abdirazak Ahmed Hashi. I applied city grant and I was not awarded. And it's the third time I come here. And I don't know if they're gonna award me or not. I spoke with them 3 times. City of Federal Way. I want to know if my grant is approved or not.
All right, we've got a response for you. Councilmember Honda.
Thank you for coming tonight. This gentleman was at our last Parks Committee meeting last Tuesday, and we explained the process for human services funding and suggested that he come here tonight, and that the process we would be voting on who was going to be funded and who wasn't going to be funded tonight. We have many more requests for funding than we have the ability to fund, and the commission goes through lots of paperwork and spends hours and hours studying and discussing what agencies that we could fund and what agencies that we're not able to fund. So we will be voting on that later this evening.
Will you fund me or you are not gonna fund me?
Well, the council will be making a decision later this evening. I can't talk for every council
Should I
member.
wait or should I leave?
Well,
It's certainly up to you. We will get in touch with you if you need to leave. I understand that, this is a long,
I think, Mr. Hushy,
Yeah.
why don't we, our community services manager, Jeffrey Watson, is in the back of the room. I would ask perhaps that you talk to him. He's the individual. Thank you so much for coming tonight, and we're going to have, maybe he can explain some things. And, all right. What's that? Yeah, exactly. All right. Thank you, Mr. Hushy. And thank you, Jeffrey. Keith Livingston, you were on, sir, and on deck is Ms. Mary Ellen Stone.
All right, thank you. Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and members of council, I'm Keith Livingston, a resident of Federal Way, and while I serve on the Arts Commission and am a very strong believer in the arts, I'm not here tonight representing the Arts Commission. However, I am here to advocate that greater consideration be given within the city's 2015-2016 budget cycle for supporting and investing in the arts and culture in Federal Way. I think council's decision earlier this year for proceeding with the construction of the PAC is to be commended. It begins shifting the city from being primarily retail focused in its city core to becoming a city that can be an arts focused destination. The dual nature of the PAC enables it to be uniquely positioned to attract conferences as well. The acquisition of the former Target property, which you are considering tonight, adds another dimension to reimagining Federal Way's central core and adds flexibility to both sites being considered as a development acquisition challenge. It really does help change the game in much of downtown. It is worth noting this city has some very capable performance artists and organizations. I was recently at the fundraiser, The Shindig, which was produced by Federal Way Coalition of the Performing Arts and held at Twin Lakes Country Club. We had there displaying their talent, which was really, some of the talent was national and international reach. They were our local performers. They were absolutely phenomenal, and it was an event worth being at. While we also have some prominent writers and visual artists in our midst, they are not as well known due to the nature of their craft and a lack of a visual art and art education venues in this city.
Cities that underinvest or ignore the potential of the arts as an investment opportunity often become creatively stagnant and less attractive for new development and to young families seeking personal growth and opportunity. Arts and cultural work to define a city, and for some it provides a path forward. Yeah, really, so as you finalize your 2015-2016 budget request, I request that greater consideration be given to supporting arts organizations, adding arts management staff, and the resources necessary to begin branding Federal Way as a city of the arts. The management guru, Peter Drucker, is known for saying, the best way to predict the future is to create it. So, the PAC, the development of the former Target site, and continuing to build a cultural infrastructure will go a long way to helping Federal Way realize its potential as a dynamic city. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith, and thank you for your service as chair of our Arts Commission. All right, now Mary Ellen Stone, King County Sexual Assault Resource Center Executive Director.
Thank you so much, Mayor, council members. I'm here tonight to speak to consent agenda item I, which is the Human Services Grant recommendation, and respectfully, recognizing the amount of work that this has taken, ask that this be reconsidered. The recommendations include King County Sexual Assault Resource Center in at about 30%, lower than our current allocation, and that is after we've exceeded our outcomes. We have seen a 30% increase in victims of sexual assault who are residents of the city of Federal Way from 2012 to 2013. This is a good thing. You want people coming forward. So we're responding to increased need. We have a terrific partnership with Federal Way Police Department. A couple handouts I want to have for you to just document that. And I understand the constraints you're under, but I do ask that you maintain our funding at the current level of $25,000. And let me pass this out to you.
All right. And Mary Ellen, how long have you been at KSARC?
Me personally?
Yes.
Oh, Mayor, it's been many years.
35.
We both started as children.
Thank you very much.
We uniquely provide services, legal advocacy, trauma-focused therapy in English and Spanish, and see over 200 victims of sexual assault from Federal Way. Yes, sir.
What many people don't realize is when a case of child or adult sexual assault is filed and put through the prosecutor's office, of which I worked with some of your advocates, a KSARC advocate is assigned to that case and to the victim, not to the case, excuse me, to the victim, and it helps shepherd that person through the labyrinth and the terrifying, sometimes very confusing criminal justice system, from initial interview by police to interview by the defense counsel and then during the trial. And so I've worked with many of your advocates over the years and just do phenomenal work. And I couldn't even imagine, I was actually assigned to do that work for 2 years. I could not imagine the King County Prosecutor's Office doing those cases without your services.
They really don't. And that's an important part. We work for the victim and her family or his family, making sure that they know how the process works and can move through that. And we're the only organization that does that particular work.
Thank you.
Okay,
Counsel,
any questions? I'm happy to.
all right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming tonight. Okay. All right, Battery Bob. And then on deck is Lydia Talavera. Okay. All right. Thank you, Lydia.
Hi, my name is Battery Bob, and I just have one question for this incredible body of people. Are you willing to eliminate poverty in the city of Federal Way? That is my question. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming. More conversation to follow. Norma Blanchard. Good to see you again, Norma. Thank you, Better.
bad pennies always return. Last week, I don't know, remember if it was Monday or Tuesday, I was going home driving west on 312, just past 99, and there was two gentlemen on the right-hand side working at those apartments there, using the weed blowers. They were blowing the leaves from all those trees out in the middle of the road. Now, when they mow lawns, you know, the people around different places, they have a big blue tarp, and then they put the clippings on that, but they blow the leaves and crap out in the middle of the road? I don't think so. Thanks.
Tell me where that was again, one more time.
That was
Please.
on 312, just by that Easter Lake Apartments along there. And they were out just blowing, having a gay old time.
All right, thank you for letting me know that. I appreciate it. All right, well, I'll follow up on that. Marwan, let's make sure to touch base on that. And I'm referring to Marwan Saloom, our Public Works Director. Thank you. All right, and Jenny Hills. Welcome back, Jenny.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and the council, and Mayor Farrell. I have some concern that I would like to raise to you guys. I think that we need a place where people with disabilities can go for employment very, very badly in this town. I know that one of our council members has been working with Trillium for doing that, and to me, things are going a little bit slower than I would like. But I think that that's something that definitely needs to address someplace around 320th within the mall area, whether it's in the mall, outside the mall, whatever. But I would like to see if there's something we can get done in the next 6 months to really do this, because a lot of people with disabilities are struggling, especially this time of year, with it being colder, it's going to snow or not snow, whatever. And the other thing is it's come to my attention that we need to get this done. The other thing I'd like to let everybody know is that we lost a state representative sometime last month, and there is a memorial service this weekend coming up at our Savior's Baptist Church at 1 p.m. I think we all need to go and support Roger Freeman, and because he represented us, and I feel that this is something important, that it all needs to be done and addressed to that. I don't know where this church is. I've never been there, so, but then, you know, we all need to be there for his family as well. One other issue is our son is doing so fantastic in school, and he's doing great in gym and everything, and he's passing all of his classes, and he's actually learning computers this year. I've been teaching him at home.
Oh, great. Thank you, Jenny. And in regard to the service for Representative Moore, I will be there as well as many of my colleagues. And it's on Freeman. See, look what you started. Representative Freeman. I will be there. He was a colleague of ours. He was a friend of ours. The church is on 320th, just east of First Avenue. It's on this. So. Yeah.
There's the medical offices across the street from it.
So we're. All right. Well, we'll talk after the meeting. I'll make sure you get information about that. But Representative Freeman was a dear friend of all of us here on the dais, so we're sorry to see him go.
My husband has to work tonight, so I have to be home early.
All right.
He has to leave at 4:30, so.
Okay.
Job's calling.
All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone. Now on to the consent agenda. We've got the consent agenda. These items have gone through committee and are voted on unless as a whole, unless pulled by an individual council member. Item A.
I would like to pull an item.
Which item would you like to pull?
Item I.
Item I. Okay. So I'll go ahead and read them, and then we'll note that. Item A are the minutes from October 29, 2014 special meeting and November 4, 2014 regular and special meetings. Item B, 2015 street sweeping services contract bid award. Item C, 2015 right-of-way landscaping maintenance service contract bid award. Item D, Pacific Highway South, HOV Lane South, Phase 5, South 340th Street to South 356th Street project. Lakehaven Utility District Interlocal Agreement. Item E, Litter Control Services Agreement with Vadis for 215-216. Item F, authorization to amend the 2013 and 14 swim infrastructure maintenance and service contract. Item G, authorization to apply for freshwater algae control program grant funding. Item H, 2014 Emergency Management Performance Grant Award. Item I, which we're going to be pulling, the 2015 and 16 Human Services General Fund Grants Funding Recommendations. Item J, American Traffic Solutions Incorporated Professional Services Contract. Item K, Amendment to License Agreement for Downtown Substation. Item I has been pulled. Council, are there any other items to be pulled for further discussion? Hearing that, is there a Deputy Mayor Burbidge?
Yes, I have a motion. I move approval of items A through H and items J and K on the consent agenda.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to move those items for final approval. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now the measure passes. Item I, it has been pulled by Councilmember Duclos. Councilmember Duclos.
Yes, I'd like to move to add $5,000 to the Human Services funding and to restore KSARC to last year's funding level.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to restore King County Sexual Assault Resource Center programming by an increase of $5,000. Is there any discussion on that item? Councilmember, actually, before we, the maker of the motion, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, I think they have proven, KSARC has proven for years that it performs a vital service for our community. And I think restoring it to last year's level is the prudent thing to do. They're not getting an increase, but they continue to provide a very, very important service to us, especially for women in this area. So.
Okay. Councilmember Selsky.
Yes, so by doing this, does this imply a reallocation of funding or removing funding from some other agency that has been recommended?
My motion says to add 5,000. It doesn't say to take anything away from anybody else that's been recommended.
So let's do a point of clarification with our finance director, Ade Erewalu, about where that 5,000 would come from. Ade, where would the 5,000 come from? And do we have it?
I would defer that to Jeff to explain the makeup of the allocation.
Jeff Watson, our Human Services Manager, is making his way to the podium. Okay, let's get this addressed first.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of the council. With regard to the $5,000, at this point in time, I don't have a specific place where it would come from, but we certainly can find that. As Councilman Selsky suggested, I mean, one possibility is to reallocate it, and I'm not disregarding Councilmember Duclos' point about adding it, but we'll need to take a look at that and make a determination where it will come from. So.
All right. Councilmember Honda.
I have been looking for a week as to how we could reallocate this money.
I beg your pardon?
I've been looking since our parks meeting last week as to how we could go through and find the $5,000 for this program, because I feel very strongly that it should be funded at the level it was for the last 2 years. The City of Federal Way employees do a United Way fund, and last year the money, it was about $5,000, $6,000 was given to the Human FCAT. Mm-hmm. So if perhaps this year the funding, if it totals at least $5,000, could be given to KSARC to make up for the loss of the.
Well, I think actually, you know, during the there are funds from which we've got a general fund, we've got a mayor's contingency fund. We have monies. Councilmember Duclos?
I think there's money in the budget that we could find without taking away from what the employees want to donate their money for. There's $5,000 in the budget.
Yeah.
Well, that goes to the Human Services Commission to determine where that money is going to be given.
I think we ought to. I think our our finance director should take a look and make some recommendations where it could come from.
That's fine, as long as it's funded. The Human Services Commission works really, really hard on making these recommendations, and I didn't see a spot or a group that we could really take funding away from.
I'm not suggesting.
I know that, but I just want to clarify. So I feel it's very important that we do get their funding back to what it was, whatever it takes.
I share that sentiment. I'm sure that, Ade, are you confident that we can find some either previously unallocated monies that we could use on a one-time basis for this?
If it's the pleasure of the council, I will work with Mr. Watson to come up with $5,000.
Out of that particular budget allocation.
Correct.
Out of that department.
Correct.
All right. And I was thinking more globally that, say that we had an issue. Obviously, what we don't want to do is have a zero-sum situation in which a loser comes out of this, and we want to make sure there's no unintended consequences.
If I may state that we might want to look at the entire budget and see where we could actually take it from, or portions where it could come from, instead of just looking at one part of the budget.
I agree with that, and that's exactly. Ade, does that sound fine?
Yes, we'll do that.
All right. I think that's the spirit in which the motion was
And
made.
as chair of FEDERAC, I'd be happy to work with you on that.
Councilmember Selsky.
Yes, so as part of the motion, then, we will state that we're not going to reallocate funds, right?
Of the previously
awardees.
The motion was made to add, not to take anything away from
Right,
anybody.
and I just want to make sure that gets put in there.
Yes, the motion was made to add 5,000, not take any,
And no reallocation.
no reallocation.
Right.
All right, very good. Councilmember Sefadasa.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I've been on the Human Services Commission. I've worked here as a Human Services Manager also. So I know it's a daunting procedure, but I believe that the commission would also agree with this decision, because their service delivery continues to go up, but the funding is decreasing. So, and it's a 2-year funding process also. So I don't think we can afford to see them not getting the funding for 2 years in a row at the level that they've requested. So I totally support and agree with that.
All right. We will advise the council and the public about where exactly this money comes out of the budget. But all right, are there any further questions or comments? All right. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. The measure passes. Thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you.
All right. Now that was the amendment, and then to add, now it's for general. Now once amended, don't we have to do the motion to approve?
I think the record's been very clear on what the council's intent is, so I think we're good with what.
So all other recommendations are hereby adopted by that motion?
Yes.
All right, done. All right, thank you very much. All right, council. Now let's move on to public hearings. We've got the open public hearing on the 2015 biennial budget and property tax levy continued from November 4th of 2014 as required by RCW 35A.34. We have, let's see, 3 comment sheets. I think the first thing we do is hear public comment. We've got 3, Joe Princeton, Rob Ruber, and.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Are those for the site-specific or for the budget?
I'm sorry, comprehensive. You're right, they are for the site-specific, sorry. All right, we actually don't have any, I didn't see the box checked. Okay, so we don't have any public hearing for any sign-up sheets for the public hearing. Is there anybody right now that would like to address the 2015-2016 biennial budget? Going once. Just kidding. All right, council, any discussion on, we've had several months of hearings, presentations by all the department directors. We've had a number of slideshows and presentations. Is there any council discussion or further council discussion? At 6 p.m. This evening, we had a public hearing in which there was some council deliberation or discussion, and there was some discussion about backfilling positions in both the Parks Department and also in the Community Development Department once we find out what our year-end balances are. We're going to be taking a look at those probably by February. But in regard to this budget, Council, are there any further considerations? Councilmember Selski?
Not really any further considerations, but I do have a few comments I'd like to make. I know how hard it is to write a budget, and I know our finance director and his staff have worked very hard along with the other directors and the rest of the staff. So I guess I just want to say thank you very much for all the hard work you all put into this. I feel this is an improved budget. I feel it's one that accurately represents what we need to do as a city and how we can fund it. I'm really glad that we replaced the one-time funding situations and transferred them to ongoing positions. I think that is a great move, and it's going to help us with our planning going forward. I'm also glad we set standards for fund balances so we can appropriately use those funds for more useful purposes that we need as a city. So I feel that was another good move. And lastly, with regard to police staffing, with the extra positions that we're funding, I think we've made the right move in the direction of improved public safety. So I'm very happy with what we're going to be voting on tonight. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Duclos.
I'd like to concur with Councilmember Selski. This is the first time that we actually show the revenue and the expenses and where it's coming from instead of doing transfers from here and there. And I really, really like that. Our citizens can read it and understand it, and I think that's really important. And I want to thank our finance director for making these suggested changes to us.
All right. Okay. That being said, any other comments? All right. It's been a great process. Let's go ahead and Councilmember Duclos, do you have a motion with regard to the public hearing?
Yes, I move to close the public hearing regarding the 2015-2016 proposed biennial budget and 2015 property tax levy.
I'll second.
All right. And is there any discussion? All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So now we're on to the open public meeting for the selection process 2015 major comprehensive plan update site-specific requests. These are the comments that I had. Let's see here. Staff presentation, Margaret Clark, our principal planner. Margaret?
Good evening, Mayor Farrell, Deputy Mayor Burbidge, members of the City Council, Margaret Clark with the Community Development Department. So this evening, I'll be giving hopefully a very brief presentation on the selection process for the 2015 Comprehensive Plan amendments. As part of this process, we received 5 site-specific requests to change the comprehensive plan designations and zoning of specific parcels. We also received 1 request to amend the text of the comprehensive plan to allow senior housing, including assisted living and nursing homes, in the commercial enterprise zone. I'd like to briefly go over how the selection process works. The selection process is the first step in processing requests for comprehensive plan amendments. The mayor makes a recommendation to the Land Use Transportation Committee and the City Council on whether each request should go forward for further review. The mayor's recommendation is based on specific criteria. For example, is the request consistent with the comprehensive plan? Detailed analysis is not done at this stage. Analysis will occur if the requests go forward for further review after this evening's public hearing and decision by the City Council. The mayor recommended that all 6 requests go forward for further consideration. The LUTC discussed these requests in a November 3rd, 2014 public meeting, and the LUTC concurred with the mayor's recommendation on all 6 requests. So the City Council's options is for each proposed amendment, the Council can do one of 2 things.
First is send a request forward for further review, or secondly, do not send a request forward for further review. For those requests that go forward for further review, they will be evaluated pursuant to the State Environmental Policy Act, and as part of this process, property owners within 300 feet will be notified. The Planning Commission then will then conduct a public hearing. Property owners within 300 feet will again be notified, and then the Planning Commission recommendation will be presented to the LUTC, who will then make a recommendation to the City Council, and the City Council will make the final decision on the requests in a public meeting. We hope to have all of this finished as part of the major comp plan update by the end of June 2015. So the policy question in front of the City Council this evening is which of the 6 citizen-initiated requests for comprehensive plan amendments should be forwarded for further review. So I'd like to start with the first one. The first one is the Belmore Mobile Home Park request, and the site, which is shown here, is approximately 6 acres. Belmore is located south of the Commons, and of course it's west of Interstate 5. The existing use is a mobile home park. The existing designation is a multiple family RM 3600, and the applicant is requesting that a change be made to city center frame. The reason for the request is to provide what's called a multi-tiered senior facility, including nursing and convalescent homes. Nursing and convalescent homes are not allowed in the RM 3600 zone, but they are allowed in the city center frame zone. This request is consistent with the overall vision of the comprehensive plan, which states that the city center frame designation is similar to the city center core designation, which is the zone to the north, and will provide a zone of less dense mixed-use development surrounding a portion of the city center core. The second request is Bishop Lee Princeton request. It's approximately 6.14 acres located south of South 356th Street between 6th Avenue and 8th Avenue. The existing use are 3 single-family residences and 2 vacant parcels. The existing designation is single-family medium-density residential with a zoning of RS 15.0, which is minimum lot size of 15,000 square feet. The applicant is requesting to go to single-family high-density residential with a density of either RS 9.6 or RS 7.2. The recommendation is the RS 9.6, not the 7.2. 9.6 is a minimum lot size of 9,600 square feet, and RS 7.2 is a minimum lot size of 7,200 square feet. This request is consistent with the overall vision of the comprehensive plan, which states that for areas zoned single-family medium density, an increase in density may be warranted upon provision of urban services. Water is available along 6th Avenue to the east, and sewer is available along 8th Avenue to the west. The third request is for 1.82 acres located between Celebration Park Road and 15th Avenue. This is Pacific Highway South to the east. And to the west is, of course, Celebration Park. The site is vacant right now with a designation of Office Park, OP, and the applicant is requesting to go to Community Business, BC. This request is consistent with the overall vision of the comprehensive plan, which states that the Community Business designation encompasses 2 major retail commercial areas along the SR 99 corridor, including the segment between South 324th Street and approximately South 399th Street. This parcel is located within that area. The fourth request is for 0.18 acres located west of Pacific Highway South, south of South 308th Street. To the north is the Federal Way High School. The existing use, this is the site right here, the existing use is a beauty shop, and the existing designation is multiple family RM 1800. The applicant is requested to go to Community Business. This request is to make the use an allowable one, as a beauty shop is not an allowable use in the RM zone. This request, similar to the previous one, is consistent with the overall vision of the comprehensive plan because it does fall within that area designated for community business in the comprehensive plan. This is located between South 272nd Street and South 312th Street. The fifth request is for 1.97 acres located southwest of South 320th Street and First Avenue South. Existing use of the site is office. The existing designation is professional office, and the applicant is requesting an office park designation. The PO zone allows very few uses as opposed to the OP zone. The intent of the PO zone is to allow small-scale office development adjacent to residential neighborhoods. These parcels are adjacent to two busy arterials and are not adjacent to residential uses. Therefore, a designation of OP would be consistent with the overall vision of the comprehensive plan. The last request is a request for a text amendment, not for a change to a designation of a parcel. Young Spring LLC property is requesting a comprehensive plan amendment to allow senior housing, including assisted living and nursing homes in the commercial enterprise zone. The applicant states that they have been approached by developers of senior housing over the years, and as recently as of this year for their 5.8 acre site located south of the Federal Way Crossing. This commercial enterprise zone is this area shown in red on this map. Senior housing is allowed in 6 zones: single family, multifamily, community business, city center core, city center frame, and office park. Assisted living, convalescent housing, and nursing homes are allowed in 5 of the 6 zones. They are not allowed in the single family zone. This is a map that shows the location in generally of independent housing, that would be senior housing / assisted living, and nursing convalescent homes. So this just gives you an idea that they're kind of scattered throughout the city in various zones. We did do a quick inventory of existing senior housing, assisted living, and nursing homes. Right now, we've got 664 units of senior housing, and there's 398 units pending right now, including the SHAG development on Pacific Highway. We've got 232 units of assisted living with 80 pending. We've got 498 nursing convalescent beds, 0 pending, and so for a total of about 1,972. And I know that there was a request for us to look at the absorption rate, but we haven't had an opportunity to do that as yet. But just for information purposes, our population right now is about 90,000. And senior citizens percentages are increasing. So there's language in the comprehensive plan that states that the commercial enterprise designation is intended for a diverse mix of industrial, office, and retail sales and services. A text amendment to allow these uses in the CE zone would apply to all parcels in the CE zone, unlike a site-specific request. However, when we took a look, there are only 4 parcels that are 5 acres or more in the commercial enterprise zone. They are shown here. This is a Young Spring request here. That's a vacant parcel. The other parcels are all redevelopable, which means they have uses on them right now, but that the ratio of the value of the improvements to the vacant land is such that they are deemed redevelopable, and it's based on a formula. So the first one is this parcel over here, and we have 4 rental residences on it. This little sort of donut in the middle is Lakehaven's property. I think it's a well there. The second redevelopable parcel is the DDM construction site to the east of the Young Spring property, and the third one is the Jet Chevrolet site. So all of these are 5 acres or more. So just in general, depending on where senior housing is proposed, it may not be compatible with adjacent uses, but there's very few sites that could actually be developed as senior housing in the CE zone. So as far as council action tonight, there are 6 different requests, and for each request, you can decide whether to move it forward or not to move it forward. And with that, I end my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, Councilmember Sowski.
Thank you, Mayor Farrell, and thank you, Margaret, for the presentation. I have 2 questions. The first one is on the first request, the Belmore Mobile Home Park. Is that in fact 16 or 6 acres?
6 acres. That was a mistake last time. We
Right.
were basing it on a map that was provided to us by the applicant.
Right.
And then based on the, what came out of the meeting, we realized it was incorrect, and so we corrected it to 6 acres. And that 6 acres actually does not impact any of the existing mobile homes.
Okay, that was my next point I wanted to make. So really, in effect, it's just where the community center is and
That's
the acreage
correct.
around that.
That's very correct.
Okay, very good, thank you. Secondly, thank you on request number 6 for all the overlays and all the work you did, the table and calculating everything that, as far as the number of spaces and whatnot that exist in the city, or are, I guess, in potential spaces. But what I wanted to ask, so the 1972, that does not include anything of the potential senior housing development at Belmore. That would
No.
add to that number.
Right. At Belmore, actually, they're proposing a facility for the senior housing,
Right.
not senior housing.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
good, thank you for clarifying that. And anyway, again, thanks for all the extra work you did since the land use meeting. I can see there was a lot of work and effort put into explaining this better this evening, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilmember Lottie.
Thank you, and I agree. It's easier to understand the presentation tonight, so I appreciate that very much. And I am still a little, I have a few questions about the saturation level for senior housing in regard to whether it's what you just described as residential versus a facility. So those numbers that you gave us don't include facilities that house seniors. Is that what I'm
No, they
is that
do.
what you mean?
Let me go
Okay.
back to that
All right.
slide. Right now, this is all of the existing.
Okay.
We've got 764 units of sort of independent senior housing. This would include things like the Meridian Court, Willamette, some of the Foundation House,
Okay.
some of Village Green. Assisted living, again, there's some at Foundation House, some at Village Green. And then the nursing convalescent homes would be the ones like, if I go back to the previous slide, like Hallmark Manor, Garden Terrace. So these are all of the existing right
Okay.
now. And then what I also included was sort of the pending, those projects that we're reviewing right now. Going back to Belmore, Belmore is proposing a nursing facility to accommodate their existing residents. So it would be just a transfer of who is living at Belmore, as far as I understand. Is that correct? Okay.
Okay, thank you. And but that would be in addition to these numbers, is what we're saying, though, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, even though it's still the population. but-
Right, right. There would just be a
Okay.
transfer from
Sure.
mobile home park to nursing home.
Okay, all right. Okay, and then my other question was in regard to the second
Lee
project.
Crimson?
Yes. The terminology you used was that this, now I can't remember, the denser single-family housing would be warranted? That's the.
No. We would not recommend RS 7.2.
Right. No, I know. You were said 96, I believe.
Right.
And, but that's still more dense than it currently is,
Right.
correct? And you said that the terminology used was it would be warranted because of the services that exist.
Right.
By using the word warranted, you mean simply that it would be allowed, but it's not, if they redevelop that area, it's not required that it be more dense, is it?
No,
Okay.
we don't require.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, this could change and it could remain exactly the same, the
Okay.
way it is today.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Sapadawson, you've got your light on.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Not to be the light monitor.
Jim?
Yes. Oh, Councilmember Honda, who also has her light on.
Thank you. And I do have a question.
Oh, good.
The light shines bright.
Exactly.
On the numbers that you had up for nursing home beds. Do those include the adult family homes that? No.
They don't, because the adult family homes are allowed under state law if they meet certain criteria, and they're allowed in single-family homes. These are commercial facilities.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Council, any other comments or questions? All right, and now we are, thank you very much, Margaret. All right, and we've got, at this stage, public comment. We do have 3 comments. It's Rob Reber. Sorry, hadn't seen your name for a while, Rob. So, Rob, come on up, old friend.
Well, as Mayor said, my name is Rob Reber. I want to thank the Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council for giving us another opportunity to discuss that. I'm actually here on 2 parcels tonight, so could I have time for each one? I don't know if I can get them both in the 3-minute time, or is that?
Let's do 1.5.
1.5.
All right.
Well, the first one is the South 320th and First Avenue South, the PO zone. And in addition to Margaret's comments, I think from the...
I'm going to phone up for you.
Oh, sure.
You're doing the office one?
Yeah, the PO zone.
We're not. You're pausing, okay. We're pausing your time, Rob.
Thank you. Pardon?
We're pausing your time. That
Oh,
doesn't count.
good, okay. Well, as you can see, and Margaret mentioned, we're surrounded by OP. And over the years, as the market for office space fluctuates, there's really only 2 major categories in the PO zone that you can do outside of like cell towers and parks and urban gardens and that kind of thing. But as far as commercial type of rent producing activities are going to be office and then school, daycare, that kind of thing you can do there. When the office market gets really tight, we don't have any latitude like the PO zone does, and what we're looking for is just something where we can get some other compatible uses in there to match what's surrounding us, because we're just a couple little islands right now. And believe it or not, it makes a difference. We just lost recently someone had come to us through the leasing broker with a restaurant type use, a small restaurant that's along the PO zone. We could do things like have a dental lab there, which we can't do now. There's some other things that would really be helpful. So from the ownership point of view, it's not a significant change, because I don't think on a 2-acre parcel we're going to have a convention center, which is allowed. So, we're not going to have that kind of thing, but in scale, it would really be helpful. So, and the second parcel is the, maybe you could bring that up for me, Margaret, the Young Spring. And this came about not actually through the ownership or myself as far as instigating this idea, but over the past year or so, there's been several of the assisted living type of entities that have approached us and asked us about that property, and we just basically said, well, we can't do anything because of the zoning. And we kind of let it go at that because we didn't think too much of it. But basically now, we've had one recently come, and then they described to us a little bit about what they're looking for. What they really need is really good freeway access, very good visibility, minimum of 5 acres, and their main criteria is that the people that are coming to visit the people in these homes are who they're trying to accommodate and get in here. So even though there's some other uses around there that might, to me or somebody else, saying, well, is that compatible? They're saying, yes, it is compatible. And if you look at those parcels there, the big parcel on the left side of 99 there with is a square inside of it. Mm-hmm. Most of that, there's a lot of wetlands there, and it's way behind there as far as what you could really use. So it would be difficult to use that if you're looking for high visibility. Same thing with the piece there behind the Young Spring thing, that oblong piece. It would be difficult to do. And I guess, I guess that's why they came to us for that piece, because it has all the criteria. And I'd just like to kind of answer your question, because you had brought up kind of a good point about whether we'd reach a saturation point. But one thing that these people do is when they're building a 5 acre piece,
they're not catering strictly to people that are necessarily living in Federal Way now. It's kind of an area-wide thing. So I think given the criteria that they have for the pieces, that there's not going to be a saturation point. And if there was, they couldn't afford to do it. So.
Okay. All right, thanks, Rob.
Thanks for your time.
Appreciate it. All right, and then we had Joe Princeton. All right, thank you, Joe. All right, and then we had Brian Edgar. Dr. Edgar.
Thank you, Mayor Farrell and Vice Mayor Burbidge. I'm on a board that is in a building just south of this property, and we are also the professional office designation for zoning. And we started looking at this question. They came to us actually and asked if we would consider going in with a joint application to rezone. And most of our tenants are owner occupied, so it doesn't really make much sense, or we don't see the value in it. But our board did meet tonight, and we they asked me to come and state that we do support the application to change from the professional office to office park designation for the reasons that were given earlier. And the West Campus Terrace Owners Association is on that graph. It's the property just south of the yellow outline. So if there are any questions for our organization, I'd be happy to answer them.
Council, any questions?
Yes.
Hi.
Yes, so Doctor, did you say your association would not want to join in with this request, or you would want to join in with this request?
At some date in the future, we may. We hadn't discussed it prior to this request going forward.
Okay, you're just supporting their moves
yes,
in this
and
direction.
as a interesting, I'm not sure who mentioned dental lab, but I have a dental lab that's down in Fife, and they used to be on First Avenue across the street from me. And it's really convenient to have your lab close so that you can send patients to. And so I gave the lab the broker's number to contact to possibly move into space in that building. And as he said, it wasn't allowed to. It seems like a use that, is pretty professional to me. So.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Councilmember Maloney.
Thank you. Hi, Dr. Edgar. Yeah, actually, it's funny that you mentioned that because your wife is my dentist, and I thought literally about having that
Mine too.
having that Fife dental lab, because I've been there, coming to this location. So it would be beneficial for your business for sure. It seems as if it would be anyway, if that worked out. I actually would like to ask Mr. Reber another question, though, if I may.
Yeah.
Because it just popped in my mind, and I'm not sure where he is. Oh,
Rob, can you come up to the podium,
sorry,
please?
Dr. Edgar. It's just kind of related.
Come on
In
up
regard
to the podium,
to, in regard to that office park or whatever you're calling it, the current tenants who are there, would they be adversely affected by this?
No, because the idea of having the extra uses in the office park is that they would be compatible with office. And the only difference is if you got like a 5 or 10 acre piece where you've actually got the room, you could do a little more that you just really couldn't do in the scale of a building like this. So as far as realistic uses, no, there's not a problem.
Okay, thank you. And thanks, Dr. Edgar.
All right. Anything else for the doctor? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming. All right, and I believe those are the only 3 comments. Did anybody else want to comment before we close public comment? All right, Councilmember Selski, do you have a motion with regard to
I
public?
do, Mayor Farrell. I move to forward all 6 citizen-initiated site-specific requests to the Planning Commission for further consideration.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. And would that include all, yes, okay, it's been, I'll come back to this issue in just a moment. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? I think actually that one of the formalities is to close the public hearing, but is that, you think that's? Is there a motion to close public hearing?
I do have a motion. I move to close the public hearing regarding the selection process for the 2015 Comprehensive Plan update.
All right,
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that matter has passed as well. All right, so now moving on to council business, Youth Commission appointments. Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. Tonight we had the pleasure and honor of interviewing 11 youth who applied for our Youth Commission. The Youth Commission hasn't been active for the last 3 or 4 years, and this year we decided we wanted to get that commission active. We made a few changes, and I'm very proud to have been part of that, and very proud of these young citizens who came forward to apply for this commission. I was most impressed by their behavior, their appearance, their answers to the questions. It was very, very inspiring. So I move to appoint the following as voting members of the Youth Commission for 1-year terms expiring August 31st, 2015, Robert McFarland and Jesse Goldstone. And I move to appoint the following as voting members of the Youth Commission for 2-year terms expiring August 31st of 2016, Alyssa Odom, Aaron Littlefield, Sandra Ojihura, Anatasha Kostin, Christopher Chung, Judy Kim, Mohammed Ramzan, Isaiah Bush, and Alex Kenneth Kinzer. And if I mispronounce your name, I'm very sorry. I was very impressed, and I think these youth will do an outstanding job for the city of Federal Way.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Before we go into discussion, I just want to say, and I know, do you want to talk about your committee members?
Oh, okay. I worked with Councilmember Moore and Councilmember Safa Dawson. We met several times with the help of our staff and had great discussions. And this is just, I've been trying to get this commission going for about 2 years, so I am just so excited that we're there. They're going to be able to meet and help advise us as a city council on what the youth need in Federal Way.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Safa Dawson?
Okay, I'll say something. I too am really pleased to see this commission up and going, because these kids did have great ideas for our city, and I really believe that they are going to contribute a lot, and also with their leadership, I believe this is going to be an ongoing commission that will help our city in the future, because they're our future, and I'm really pleased to be a part of this process. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Moore?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also want to thank the leadership of Councilmember Honda on this. I can certainly tell it was something you were very passionate about, and it's something that you've been working on for a long time. And it was a joy to work with you on that, and to my colleague, Councilmember Lydia Safa Dawson, and of course my council here. And just want to say that as the youngest council member on the city council, I'm looking up to our youth for advice and helping shape the future of our community, because they're a major stakeholder, just like many other stakeholders in this community. And so I'm looking forward to working with the Youth Commission. I'm looking forward to listening to their thoughts and visiting them at their commission, just to kind of learn and listen and be a partner with them. And so with that, I'll end my comment.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Maloney and then Councilmember Duclos.
Thank you. I just wanted to publicly acknowledge these students for coming forward to participate on this commission. I was so, as Councilmember Honda suggested too, I was just floored by how articulate and pulled together these young people are, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to offer our community. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Duclos.
And I will third what everybody else has said. These young people were just outstanding. I would have loved to have had them on the board at Multi-Service Center. They really, really are fantastic, and we are lucky to have such young people in our community. We really are.
Deputy Mayor Burbidge.
Thank you. I'll just briefly say that this was truly an outstanding group of young people, and I'm just delighted to see the Youth Commission active again. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, with that being said, I think we've got, Councilmember Orselski.
I'll take my turn too. The one thing I was impressed with is ideas were already flowing during the interviews, and one young man put an idea as an answer to one of the questions that our moderator is actually going to take back to the community center and start working on right away. So the ideas have already started flowing. Thank you.
That's great. Absolutely. Fantastic. All right. We've had discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm sorry? Let's try that again. Take two. All those in favor of the Youth Commission appointments as outlined by Councilmember Honda?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now they're appointed. Thank you. All right. Parks and Recreation Commission appointments. Councilmember Honda.
Okay, I'll try again. So tonight, we also interviewed 3 citizens for appointment to the Parks Commission. We have appointed Anthony Murrieta as a voting member to his term to expire April 30th of 2017. Dawn Coggins as an alternate member, her term to expire April 30th of 2016. And Betty Taylor as an alternate member, with her term to expire April 30th of 2015. I'd like to thank you all for your coming and applying for this commission. It's a very important commission in our city. And thank you for staying all night long. You're all still here. I really appreciate that.
All right, there's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded regarding the individuals to be appointed to the Parks and Recreation Commission. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, measure passes. All right, resolution, request federal funding assistance for PAC construction, presentation by our communication individual, Chris Carroll.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and council members. I'm pleased to say I have a very brief presentation for you tonight on the proposed resolution. As part of the funding plan for the Performing Arts and Conference Center, the city is seeking funding from various sources, including the federal government. And in order to officially request funding from the federal government, we need to have council authorize a resolution formalizing that request for federal funding assistance. And we have a resolution before you tonight for your consideration that would do that. And that concludes my presentation.
Go ahead.
I'd be happy to take any questions.
All right, council, any questions? All right, I think the idea is that in order to get the federal funding, we have to have.
Exactly. The resolution is a required step in requesting funding from the federal government.
And this is for the new market tax credits that Councilmember Duclos.
I was just going to say that's standard operation procedure for any tax credit that you're applying for.
That's right. When we were meeting with Senator Murray in her office, I'd say, gosh, it's almost 2 weeks ago now. She seemed very receptive and committed to helping us secure this funding. And there's a whole process in place. But I think actually her appearance down here for our Veterans Way dedication, I think bodes well that we certainly got her attention, and it sounds like she's committed to helping us. So I think this is time well spent. All right, is there on this, Councilmember Duclos, is there a motion? Yeah.
I didn't think I was.
Actually, the deputy mayor was
I
going to
think
make
it was the
that
deputy
motion.
mayor, yeah.
All right, Deputy Mayor Burbidge.
Okay, all right. I move approval of the proposed resolution requesting federal funding assistance for the construction of the Performing Arts and Conference Center.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, opposed? All right, it passes. Thank you very much, Chris. Okay, now something very exciting, purchase of vacant retail space. We've got a very exciting development that has occurred. We have what's been referred to as the empty Target site that has been sitting empty for years and years. I would say about 7 weeks ago, I directed our staff to obtain the services of a retail broker to do what we could to acquire the property that is known as the Target property. That property is 7.48 acres. We solicited the assistance of a real estate broker and we started pursuing that property. I would let you know that prior to this 7.5 acre site, which has been sitting, it's immediately adjacent to where the Performing Arts and Conference Center is going to go. We approved that after a very lengthy public debate and public process. We approved that the first week of June of this year. Within about a week of that, the value or the asking price of that property went up immediately $2 million, from about the mid $6 million range up to $8.5 million. It wasn't until, though, I would say just about 2 months ago, that we became aware of some interest and activity with regard to this property. And I think one only needs to go out to that site and look at where the Performing Arts and Conference Center is going to go, in which it's essentially on high ground overlooking the city, immediately north of where our Town Square Park is. That one only need to go out to that site and you just naturally sort of gravitate your field of vision to this vacant piece of property that is an abandoned Target at this stage. Now, this piece of property is essentially at the center of our town. And I think it's fair to say that once the Performing Arts and Conference Center is completed, the value of this property is going to go up and up and up. It was also one of the reasons why I directed my chief of staff to initiate this process. In consultation, we immediately started getting the council involved in these discussions. Is that what I envision, what I've communicated to the council, and they share this, is the concept of a town center. We have a Town Square Park. It's immediately south of where the Performing Arts and Conference Center is going to go. That's been approved. The idea, though, is not just, the idea always has been, and what was part of this public process and analysis of the PAC, is that the PAC would be a spark plug, if you will, an economic development driver. The sheer fact that immediately after that vote, that the market would demand a much higher price speaks volumes to that. What then occurred, and what occurred about 7 weeks ago, is we were aware of some interest in the property. We had reason to believe that there was another possible purchaser of the land, somebody who was interested in buying the property, but we also had concerns that that property would not be immediately activated, that essentially had the potential to sit vacant for an undisclosed amount of time. So at that point, it became very imperative, extremely imperative, as we move toward economic development in our downtown core, our true city center, that we obtain this property and look for all kinds of ways. Public spaces, maybe perhaps a branch campus, all kinds of different public amenities, perhaps private amenities, and an idea where we could create this town center and engage different sectors of our local economy. We've been talking about economic development for literally decades. I would say the entire time that this city, we're coming up on our 25th anniversary as a city, our birthday, our 25th birthday as a community, as a city, will occur next year. And this entire time, the entire 10 years I've been on this council, we talk about economic development. Real estate in our downtown core obviously does not come up for sale all that often, and does not become available. And so once we realized that the property was in play, we acted on it. So we are here today because we are in the first position and in the position to move on acquisition. So in anticipation of this, I wanted to make sure that we brought in Ade, our head of finance, to talk about the how. We've got Timothy Johnson, our economic development director, to address the why on acquisition of this property. And then we've got an architect, Scott Clark, who helped us talk about what's possible and about a possible vision. I want to say, before we get any further, that we're going to see some visioning on this, but it's very important. This is the beginning of a conversation, not the end. And we're going to, assuming that this would go through this evening, we'll have a process. One of the reasons is as this involves town center, which a newly constituted concept of our true town center, I've asked Nakano and Associates, who are designing and going through that process with the park, to be there. So I appreciate the two folks from the Nakano that are present. With that being said, Ade, would you please walk through the how?
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council. Before I start, I have Ms. Nancy Neres from Foster Pepper. She's our the bond counsel that they've been advising the city, actually before the city was formed, in terms of the taxability of bonds and all of that. At some point, she will step up and she will answer all the questions. With that said, some of the questions that I started out with is, can the city really afford a purchase price of $8.2 million? And how long do we pay the interest on this loan? Can the city afford the interest payment? Will this transaction affect the city's operations? Can we afford not to do it? The general overview of the transaction is the purchase price and other related costs will cost the city about $8.2 million is the total price. The financing summary or the financing arrangement that we have, the loan will be for 3 years. And it will be at interest rate of 1.51, which is tax exempt bond. The people that will purchase this bond, which is the key bank, that means the interest that they will be paying is tax exempt. There are some steps that we must conform to make sure that status stays intact. We'll be making payments twice a year, one in June, the other in December. We'll be making payment of about $62,000 every 6 months, with a total of $123,000 or $124,000. And at the end of 3 years, a total payment of $371,000 or $372,000. What is the city's financial condition as we projected that in the 2015 budget? And I've put a copy of this PowerPoint on your desk with an attachment at the back. If you look at the budget book, the proposed budget book, on page B4 and B5, and I made a copy of that for you. Just right above the special revenue fund is what we call strategic reserve. And thank you very much. Early this year, I brought to you reserve policy, which is a roadmap to make sure we put certain funds aside without hurting the city or hurting the operation. And thank you for the leadership in approving that. Strategic reserve is meant for strategic investment. This proposal is strategic investment, which is what strategic reserve is meant for. It's now meant for operation. It's meant for strategic investment. And that is what that 3 million. Before we started talking about this purchase, this is already in the 2015-2016 budget. The general fund reserve that we have in here, again, if you look at your proposed budget, as of the end of 2015, we are projecting 11.33 million. Based on our policy, you ask us to maintain 17% or 9 million. This is the operation of the city to make sure we're healthy. At the end of 2015, we are projecting 11.3. We are not touching that. As I pointed out, in 2016, we will have 9 million. That is the exact amount that your policy say we must maintain. This is the policy, 17% or 9 million. For both 2015 and 2016, we are on or above it. Strategic reserve for 2015, again, if you look at that proposed budget, we have $3 million in there for strategic investment. The same thing in 2016. The funding of the 371,000 or 372,000 will come out of the strategic reserve. That is what I'm proposing, in order not to affect the operation of the city. The outstanding debt, just so that you know, we have about 12.25 million on the community center. We refinanced that last year to lower the rate. And through that refinancing, we were able to realize so much gain. I believe they brought that to the council. That was before my time, but they brought that to the council, and you finance it in order to realize that gain. SCORE, which is where we put people that do get out of line. We agreed to pay a portion of the construction. That is 14.33 million. Looking at the 2015 budget, because the SCORE is doing so well, the city will now be making payment in 2015. They are using their own excess revenue to make our payment. I serve on the Finance Committee. Based on what they are doing today also, even though, yes, the administrative board of SCORE will have to agree, they are doing well. And I foresee that by the middle of 2015, they may also decide to use their excess revenue to pay part of this bond. In the Finance Committee, we're suggesting that if we're able to generate this excess revenue, we need to speed up the payment of the capital for SCORE. So that is what this 14.33 million. What is the city's capacity? The councilmanic capacity for the city is 84.94 million. So we compare that to what we have. Excuse me, I missed this Valley Communication, 432,000. That is the outstanding in that. This is the councilmanic, the capacity that you have to levy non-voted bond. This is the capacity, the 7334, with the vote of the citizen. That is on top of the 8494. The financing that we're proposing, it is a temporary financing for only 3 years, so that the council and mayor and the public can decide how we go forward on this property. The city, we're
recommending to use a portion of the strategic reserve out of 3 million to use 371,000, which will leave us 2 million, more than 2.6 million in there. Strategic reserve is different from operation reserve. Just like I said, the general fund at the end of 2015 will have more than 11. That is the operation reserve. That is the one that we keep to do our operation, to manage between the time the property tax come in and the sales tax come in, and for whatever the council decides to do. Page A7 of the proposed budget also shows all of the reserve that the council approves. Page B4, which is what I attached to the back of that PowerPoint, that is B4, that is the 2015, and B5 is the 2016. That is also in our proposed budget book. The current strategic reserve balance is 3 million. Out of that 3 million, we broke it into two. 2 million is opportunities reserve, strategic opportunities reserve. That is what we call it, strategic opportunities reserve. I do believe this transaction is a great opportunity for the city and the council. The 1 million of that 3 million is contingency for unanticipated cost, strategically. The total cost for 3 years is 371 or 372,000. The 3 years give the city an opportunity to determine and finalize the use and the long-term financing for the property. With this analysis, I do think the city can accommodate the annual payment of 123 with a total interest cost of 371 over a 3-year period out of a strategic reserve without affecting the city's operation. No impact on the packed interfund loan, and I do believe we cannot afford not to invest in ourselves and protect the revenue base of the city. Because again, if we're able to resuscitate, build City Hall, whatever, downtown, that will also increase the value of properties, which will also add to the city's revenue. It is a strategic investment using strategic reserve. And I will be glad to answer any question.
Councilmember Maloney.
Thank you. Thank you, Ade. I appreciate that overview. Are we planning on paying back the $371,000, and how, if we are?
Because based on our policy, when we use reserve, we need to build it back up. And after 3 years, through our operation, we will try to build that back up to the 3 million.
Where would it come from?
It will come from our general, because it's a reserve. As like Mayor said earlier, at the end of February, we will see the balance of our fund balance. Every year, we should be able to come to you and say, well, we projected that we will end up with 10 million, and we end up with 11 million. This is how we plan to spend this extra 1 million. And that is part of the discussion that you had earlier to say, well, new personnel in park, we need to look at this. So when we come to you, part of the recommendation that I will be making, say, okay, great, we have excess 1 million. Don't forget, we were supposed to have 3 million here, and we're short. Shall we start putting maybe 50,000, 100,000 to gradually build it back up? And that can be over a period of time.
Okay, thank you.
The beauty of this strategic reserve, because it's not like operation reserve.
the council can elect, okay, we will build that up over 5 years. Or we will build it up in 2 years. But because it's strategic reserve, I will probably come to you, let's build it up over time.
Thank you. Another quick question. I know that our debt, our ability to increase our debt is pretty significant from what you described. But we have a lot of debt on the books, basically, so to speak. Even though this is only $3 million, really $371 if you really look at it, does it affect our credit rating at all? Will it hurt us, our rating at all?
Part of, even though when we do rating, yes, we go to a third party. I've gone through few rating presentation over my career. What do they look for? Do you have reserve fund balance policy? How well are you staying with it? Is your financial report, how many findings do you have? These are the things that they look for. We have reserve policy. Our operation reserve is still above what we define we want. So I do feel that it will not affect our rating.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation, and I have several questions. You listed in 2015 that we'll have 11.33 million at the end of the year, and in 2016 it's down to 9 million. Is that a trend, so that in 2017 we're 2 million short again? Not short, but less.
Less. Part of what we propose in the budget is to be able to, again, part of our mayor's budget message was to make sure we spend operating revenue on operating expenditure. The 2 million difference is what we will use for the 320 for some of the road project.
Oh, all right.
You know, so we're using that on capital project.
All right.
You know, and bringing it to where the policy say we cannot go below. So because we have that one-time money, instead of hiring, we figure it needs to be spent on capital project that needed to be done.
All right. On the debt that you listed, will we have any possible debt for the PAC? Because I feel that needs to be taken into consideration at this point. Do you anticipate that we will take on debt to build the PAC?
Okay. For the PAC, we've done interfund loan, which the council has approved. The design of the interfund loan is to come out of our excess cash. Again, if you were to look at this, that will come out of these cash at the bottom. So it will not affect the loan for the PAC.
It will not affect the loan for the PAC?
No, it will not.
So we will not take on any debt then to build the PAC?
Well, that's
no.
exactly why, everybody knows why we were in Patty Murray's office to get new market tax
Right,
credits.
right. So we're anticipating, if those new market tax credits don't appear, then what is the plan to finance the PAC?
Well, if the new market, which I think we're doing, I think with the team that we've assembled, we're working hard to make sure it succeeds. Actually, I do believe that the city has a better chance now more than ever, because the way we're talking to some of these, and Tim will be able to talk a little bit more about it. We've sent out 9 applications, which before we were going after just 1.
All right.
Before we were, so I do believe, yes, even though I cannot guarantee it, but I do believe our chance of getting, a new market is really, really great. But if we don't, I think then the city will have to go out, and I think went through that issue when we did the park presentation, that we can bond it, and again, that would not affect the
Alright.
city's ability.
So I have two more questions, then I'll be done. Is there a cost to the city to issue this bond?
Will it cost the city to issue the bond?
Right.
Yes, that cost is also factored into this 8.2. We're paying bond counsel $5,000,
Alright.
and we're paying the key bank bond counsel $1,500, which is included in the $8,209,000 that I just read.
All right.
And that's included with the $123,000 per year in interest to
Yes,
service
it
the
is.
loan for 3 years.
Yes.
All right. And my final question, and I asked you this earlier today, was an appraisal done of this property before we made the offer, or since we've made the offer?
Okay. I'm not familiar with whether that they're paying property tax on that property or not, but I do believe that if they are not, I think that is the forcing the escrow will take care of.
Well, not the property taxes, because I've already cleared with staff
Yep.
earlier today that those will be taken care of by the seller.
Yep.
No, it was an appraisal done of the property so that we know the value of the property.
Brian?
Yes, there was an appraisal that was done on the property, and it was through a third party that we worked through in terms of this particular process. I have seen that appraisal, and it's currently in the hands of, we do have a copy of it, and the appraised value for the property is approximately $6 million currently.
Thank you.
And
The offer-
the assessed value is just a little bit less than $6 million.
5.8. Thank you.
And I should make clear again, the offer on the property that we were dealing with was $8 million, and we came in at 8.2. All right, anybody, any other questions?
Yeah. Yes,
Councilmember
I do.
Selsky and then Maloney.
Thank you, Mayor Farrell. So with regard to this bond, just looking back to the recession, and Ade, I don't think you can answer this, you weren't here, but maybe somebody else can. Did the city have any challenges making the payments on the debt during the recession?
On the AMC
I'm not sure
property?
who can answer
On
that.
Town Square?
No, I'm talking back in the recession. You know, we making debt payments. Did we have any trouble making those debt payments during that?
Actually, I would be glad to answer that, because if we did, we would not have the rating that we have today.
Well, I can honestly say, as from the Finance Committee, no, we did not have any problem.
Okay, so
Because the rating was issued last year. So if we did 4 years ago, if we did 5 years ago, that would have affected that rating last year.
exactly, and so using that logic, we should be pretty clear sailing going forward.
Yes.
And I think that's the crux of what you're trying to present here.
Correct.
Yes.
Ultimately, what this comes down to is, do we want to be the captains of our own destiny, or do we want to be completely at the mercy of the private sector and what that has yielded? When we met with the Mirror in anticipation of this meeting, one of the things we brought with us was an article that had been published in the Federal Mirror a year and a half ago. And many of you may remember it. And this is what 40 years, or 25 years of our incorporation, and the 15 years prior to that, or the entire history of this is where the private sector, in regard to this undirected or lack of an investment strategy in our downtown, yielded literally vacant lots and garbage in our downtown. And there was a multiple page spread in which they showed the pictures of this property, of the Town Square, what became Town Square Park and all of that, which was essentially blight. And, I was elected as your mayor and as were these individuals elected as council members. We've all campaigned about and promised the public that we were going to do what we could to develop our city to create a true downtown. And the time for, in my opinion, and the reason why I directed Brian down this path is that we need to take charge of our destiny and carve out what we refer to as a town center. And so essentially, for the price of $370,000 over the course of 3 years, we can chart that course. Or the alternative is to do nothing, watch that property sit empty, while we invest $32 million in a performing arts and conference center in which we invite the region to come celebrate with us, and we look on a blighted property every time we walk out that building. That is not the course we're going to take, and with the council, that's why we're here today. So we're here for the council. Are there any other questions? Councilmember Honda.
Did the city see the offer from the other party for the $8 million? I'm just trying to determine how the $8.2 million, how we came to that amount, offering a property that was appraised at $6 million.
The market came in at $8 million. We were informed by our real estate broker that there was a firm offer of which had been communicated to us. It took the other individual had actually had a signed agreement, and that a rescission agreement was necessary to get this. Our broker and their broker actually had to negotiate to get a rescission of their $8 million deal so we could get into first position.
So that was verbal, we didn't see it.
I've seen the rescission agreements. Actually, Brian?
No, there was a written offer that that was signed and was observed.
For $8 million.
Yes.
Thank you.
But, and I hear what you're saying is that, did we, other than just an oral representation, no, we made sure that there was, so really, and the idea was we were very concerned that, again, that, we would just sit and watch this empty property for years and years and years. The Paldo World site just sold for $12 million. That's where the Outback Steakhouse is. And while there's we sat and had a conversation with those folks, and while they're thinking about development in 5 or 6 years, it's an amorphous maybe. And I have to tell you, I'm not up for maybe. We want to move forward. So, and that was the real concern moving forward, is that like all of our downtown properties have been essentially, many of them, it's completely underutilized completely underutilized properties that have just either completely underutilized or complete blight. Councilmember Duclos.
Well, I may be moving us on, but because I'm going to use the heading here, I think it's time that we did control our own destiny. And sometimes you have to spend some money to get your ship righted and headed on the right track. And I think we are. I think we will make the money back at a later date. But even if we don't, we will make it in the future by having a beautiful downtown that we have designed and planned. That's right. Not letting somebody else do it like they've been doing for us up until now. And look what we've had.
That's right. And our third speaker will talk about what's possible and what the market would support right now, but I want to make sure we emphasize that's just a discussion starter. Tim, you've heard some of the issues. Would you like to perhaps truncate? You're our new Economic Development Director, for those who don't know Tim. Give us 2 minutes on why we need to do this.
Mayor, Deputy Mayor, City Council, Tim Johnson. We looked at this at length. Started about the second week that I was here on the job. And the key issue that you have before you tonight is what I like to frame is the opportunity cost. And that is the $370,000 that we have in interest payments over the next 3 years. The key question that must be asked is that we talked about this property, how many years it has sat there vacant, the loss of jobs, both direct, indirect, the loss of tax base, direct and indirect, that it has been an environmental impact on our community as blight, and that it is not doing anything to leverage our economy moving forward. So for $370,000 over the next 3 years, it'll enable us to be able to put that property into productive use. Now understand that now all of a sudden, by the purchase or acquisition, should you move forward with it tonight, there will be 21 acres that will become known as Town Center. And that's important for us in terms of what we'll promise to you later as staff to provide you the floor area ratios and what could be possible in terms of the number of jobs, what that means in the way of new tax base for the community. So for the context of what we're looking at here in the opportunity cost, it seems to stand to reason that one of the things that the mayor didn't talk about is while we're putting in nearly $33 million into the Performing Arts and Conference Center, we were also talking about a site for a hotel. And you put in nearly $60 million into a piece of property, what stands to reason to the adjacent properties? Increased appraised values. Now, if you don't take advantage of that and that opportunity, then we will have missed a tremendous opportunity for jobs and enhanced tax base. So that's the reason why we're looking at this, Mayor and Council. It's tantamount to the opportunities of success. And you ask, well, why didn't the marketplace play a role in it? Well, let's go back and look at how many major retailers closed their stores here. Let's look at how many loans and commercial loans were defaulted upon during the period of time of the Great Recession. Let's look at the loss of capital that didn't come into communities like Federal Way across the Puget Sound, let alone South Puget Sound area, and it stands to reason that the marketplace was gun shy. But here's the opportunity for you to showcase Federal Way in no way that you've ever done before. And it seems to us at a staff level for $370,000, the opportunity costs are extremely low for what the return on investment will be.
All right, Council, any questions of Tim? Councilmember Moore?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is a really smart thing to do. And this is one reason why I decided to run for office, because we needed to do something with our downtown. And I think Director Johnson mentioned a very key point, and that's this will create jobs in the future. And that's what we need to do. And another key thing that he mentioned is we've all seen it here for the last several years, the empty storefronts, and that's a concern I hear. And I think by investing and being proactive and being smart and strategic about this, this will allow us to start moving in the direction of filling up our storefronts, investing in our downtown, and providing jobs for our community and for the people in here. So I definitely look forward to supporting this, and I urge my council members to do the same.
Okay, should we, let's get Scott Clark up here to talk about what's possible, the vision for Town Center. We had one perspective that was printed in the Mirror, and now we've got a somewhat of a different viewpoint. But you know, the idea is a mix. You know, perhaps public uses, possible some private uses. But let's take a look. Can you orient us,
Yeah.
Scott? And would you please introduce yourself, where you work?
Sure.
And
Good evening, everybody. If I'm a little slow, it's because it's way past my bedtime, so bear with me. My name's Scott Clark. I'm a partner with Clark Design Group, and this whole sort of opportunity was first introduced to me a few weeks ago, and I was introduced to Nakano Associates, and I know that they're going to move forward with the planning. You have seen sort of that site plan, but what I wanted to focus on instead is a perspective, and I want to be very clear. This is very hypothetical. We put this together in 3 days, okay? So what I want you to think about is the shapes that you're seeing, the way we're looking at sort of dividing up the land, the property, and we can always talk about the prospective uses and the opportunities that might be there. As an outsider to this area, what I wanted to just sort of emphasize is you have the absolute luxury of opportunity. There is so much land and property available to you that you really can do something special here that many communities are struggling to deal with. What I also like about these properties is to the north you've got the park and you've got the lake, and there's really a great opportunity to start thinking about how all these things are linked together and collectively giving you sort of an identity and a brand that really is Federal Way. Because I think it was Ida who said that Federal Way is embarking on creating a town center which it's never had. So this is really a beginning for you. So looking, just to orient you a little bit, this is the transit center right here. In this location here, there's that empty lot,
And here, just for the sake of expediency, we did the big lawn. I know you're going to plan something different, but we did the big lawn. You've got the bus routes coming through here. And then right here, this is the 3D model of the PAC, and this is roughly the hotel that's being proposed. And then the rest of this, really from where you can see the cursor here, up and around, that's the existing target property. And that's about 7.5 acres. And what we're currently showing here are a number of different buildings, and they could either be commercial buildings, institutional buildings, art-related, or residential, or even retail. And some of the things that we started to look at, and of course, you know, what's interesting is when you start doing, you start seeing. And when you start seeing, you start looking at all the opportunities that come up. And one of the things that we started to think about was, well, wouldn't it be good if there was some kind of a bridge that kind of connected the transit center up to this lot? Because if you recall, and if you look right along here, okay, there we go. Right along here, that's about a 22 to 24 foot wall that basically separates this property from your town center. And one of the big issues that would have to be contended with is how do we basically deal with that topography and get people down and connected? Because ultimately what you want is for this to be a pedestrian-based town center with a lot of open space and physical dimensions that people can mitigate, that they can manage. In other words, this block here, that's 900 feet long. That's not pedestrian scale. So what we were looking at is how do we deal with the grade change here? How do we sort of extend the park up through and to PAC? And you'll notice that we kind of took the idea and kind of created our little sort of step thing here, but also what that starts to do is divide this up into manageable dimensions. And what you're seeing here are a variety of buildings ranging anywhere from 7 stories down to 4 stories, and in some cases 3 stories. And what becomes apparent is we can create a real town center, a mixed use opportunity with residential, commercial, retail, all of which can support your vision for the PAC and also support the hotel. And be that you know, sort of a culinary institute that might support the hotel and the catering capability of the PAC, or simply trying to increase your residential density as much as you can, because ultimately they're your consumers, they're the ones that are going to occupy the space, they're the ones that are going to shop, they're the ones that are going to go to the theater.
Or a branch college campus.
Or branch college campus. The other thing that we looked at is this is a very interesting and piece of property. This is about 26 or 27,000 square feet, if I recall. And when we were originally looking at it, we were thinking it would be a nice way to sort of bracket what ends up being developed here. And you know, initially we were thinking it'd be good if that was residential, but the other very nice opportunity is to think of it as a commercial use or a government use or a town hall or something like that. And really what became really apparent when we started to look at these things is initially everyone was sort of focused on what do we do here. But then when we started to say, okay, there's this opportunity here, then suddenly, you know, our field of vision started to incorporate those, I'm going to call it 4 blocks. And then you start to look at this opportunity here, and you look at the link to the park and the link to the water. So I guess I don't have a real clear message tonight, except to say that what's really interesting going through this process is all I see is opportunities. Now, the next point was, what can we do here from a market standpoint? What is realistic? What is actually achievable? What is not too good to be true? Really, if you focus on this and think about it in terms of the market, the current rental rates, I think you're best served thinking in terms of non-high-rise buildings. In other words, 7 stories and fewer. That gives the prospective developers the opportunity to use a variety of construction types, be it concrete, wood, steel, what have you, but at the same time, it keeps the costs on per square foot down to a manageable and market receptive level. So I guess really I'm good there. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, and I just want to make sure it's clear that, you know, we are not making the decision to put residential on this spot. It could,
Right.
I think that we've had a lot of discussions about a branch college campus. We've had some discussions about public spaces and entities and, different space for that area. This is, again, just so that we wouldn't have just a blank space here. So I think that's very important. Scott, thank you very much. Good counsel, do you have any questions for Scott? Councilmember Honda. Sorry.
She's first.
No,
Councilmember
it's okay.
Maloney.
Thank you.
All right, my question then is, you've put residential there, so there's been feedback from some residents who have heard apartments going in there. Because you put that there, you must have thought that it could handle residential. How many units would you think it could handle?
The short answer is it varies. It depends on how we end up handling or address parking. If you were to do something that is, say, a surface park model, you could be as high as 40 units per acre. If, on the other hand, you were to address the parking with, say, below-grade structured parking, then really you're in the range of 60 to 80 units per acre, and you still are able to achieve sort of the open spaces that you want and additional parks, and as well with some mixed-use ground floor retail.
So I'm going to make an assumption that you know this area. And do you feel that higher cost apartments or condos or something that we'd be able to sell or fill at that location?
I think you can do market rate housing, yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Councilmember Maloney?
I keep debating about my questions. Why don't you go on to someone else and I'll come back to it.
All right, Councilmember Duclos.
Just to address Councilmember Honda, one of the applications before us, High Point, they are just at 10% below market, and which is pretty high here in Federal Way. So I think that these houses would these apartments or rentals or condos, whatever they are, would probably do very well. People, I think we need to have residential around there because, first of all, it would be eyes on the park, number one. But number two, if we're developing this whole thing, people will want to live here. And they'll want to live around the park. They'll want to live around the businesses that are growing up. So those are my comments.
Councilmember Maloney.
Okay, thank you. I think I will ask about the RFP or RFQ process. I don't know which one we're going to do, but if we do an RFP, right, the developer gets to decide basically what they want to propose to us. An RFQ, they're just giving us a quote on what we decide we want. Which one are we deciding to do? Have we decided yet?
I think that's something that we would talk about collectively. But Chief, any input on that?
That step would come later, in terms of a process that we would put forward. But I wanted to reiterate, too, that what was, as it's titled in our presentation tonight, that this is a what is possible. But we still have a good deal of government use that can be a part of a plan moving forward as well, too, for this property. And what that government use may take in terms of a portion of the property or the entire property, we will move forward with that type of research and planning moving forward in terms of the purchase decision that's being made tonight. But there's a great deal of opportunity, great deal of possibility, and I just wanted to highlight the limited decision tonight in terms of just the acquisition of the property.
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
Council, any other questions? All right. Thank you very much. Let's see here. So Deputy Mayor Burbidge.
Thank you. I move approval to authorize the use of city funds not to exceed $8,209,960 to purchase the property located at 2141 South 314th and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents for said purchase.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to purchase the property at the said location. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Moore? No. Councilmember Selsky? No. Councilmember Honda?
Thank you. I'd like to thank you for answering my questions tonight and listening to me. This has been a rather difficult decision for me. I can see both pros and cons of purchasing this property. And my major concerns are we have some major commitments that we have already made this year that cost quite a bit of money. We have a PAC, Performing Art and Conference Center, of which we are still seeking funding. We have a 4.4 acre piece of property in which we would like to put a world-class park there, which we don't have the funding for that. We purchased Brook Lake property, which is an amazing piece of property, and we got it at a truly amazing price, but I don't want to see that sit for a long time without being developed into the destination that will be for the public, for our visitors and our tourists and our citizens, because one day we will have people coming from all over the state to go to Brook Lake and go through the park there. And of course, we have Dumas Bay that we still have to figure out what we're doing with and how we're going to fund that. So this has been a really difficult decision for me. I certainly want the city to have control over what happens in our downtown area, and I'm not sure that purchasing this site is necessarily necessary for us to have control over what happens in the downtown area. Thank you.
All right. Just to address, we got the Brook Lake property for free. So as far as price, it's amazing. All we had to pay was the $13,000 in back taxes. We got the money that we got that we have for our park. We have set aside, and it's been an account over $2 million that has been literally an account waiting for investment in our downtown, of which to do the town square park that we've done so far has cost less than $300,000, was done on time and under budget. And so we have nearly $2 million, and I doubt that we would use all of that. There is money set aside for that town square park, of which we have discussed many times. The other thing is, in regard to whether we can afford to do this, we can't afford not to do this. If we let this opportunity go by for decades, we would walk out of our Performing Arts and Conference Center and say, God, that's ugly. That's really too bad. That is really too bad. And that would be the punctuation mark. What we have to take, there are risks, but there are calculated risks. And on behalf of the 92,000 people who live in this community, it's time that we carve out a portion of this downtown to have a true downtown. There has been a joke in this community for years and years and years about where is downtown. This will answer it. And it's about whether we're going to take control of it or whether we're going to be held captive by the people that hold on to this property. And I prefer not to be a captive.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to call a question.
All right. All right. Any other? All right. It's been, the question's been called.
I do have a couple comments I'd like to make, if it's still that time to do that.
No, question's been called.
But we need to vote on the question if there's disagreement.
Council?
Yeah, I wanted to say something too.
The question's been called. Is any further, does that require a second or not?
It does not require a second, but it is a debatable issue. If people would like to, if there's a motion to, or if there's a majority that would like to continue discussion, that can overrule the call for the question.
All right. All those in favor of calling the question signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
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 Would you please take roll?
Deputy Mayor Burbidge?
Nay.
Councilmember Asafa Dawson?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
The motion is, do you agree with calling of the question and to vote right away? Or do you want to continue discussing this?
Nay would be.
Nay would be continuing the discussion.
Correct. Oh, okay, let's, nay then.
All right.
Councilmember Maloney?
Nay.
Councilmember Honda?
Nay.
Councilmember Selsky?
Nay.
Councilmember Moore?
Yay.
Councilmember Duclos?
Hey,
It passes 5-2.
All right.
I mean,
Discussion continues.
yes, discussion continues,
Discussion
5-2,
continues.
sorry.
That being said, Councilmember Selsky.
Thank you, Mayor Farrell. This is really an important issue that we're talking about here, and we've had a lot of good discussion tonight already, reasons for and maybe some reasons con. But you know what, I'm confident we're doing the right thing here. If you look back at the past 10 years or so, many important decisions have been made in this community, and just a couple of them that I want to highlight. First one, Ade talked about this when he was at the podium, the SCORE, the South County entity. This is an entity that the city invested in along with 6 other investors. And there was a lot of controversy about this. Did we do the right thing? Were we doing the right thing? And we put a lot of skin in the game in this thing. And here we are, I think 6 or 7 years later, maybe not even that long. And part of this council was in the decision-making mode to invest in the SCORE. And look what's happening right now. The facility is generating enough bottom line, so to speak, in order to pay for us this next year about $700,000 or $800,000, and so that's monies that we aren't having to put into this, and so for the debt service. I'm sorry, for the debt service. So this was a good decision. It was a controversial decision, and here it is years later, and it's paying off. The second thing is the community center. That was, again, another lightning rod, and I remember as a citizen before being on the council, a lot of discussion and concern about what was this going to succeed. Here we are again several years later after this decision was made and the facility was built, and now it's just the subsidy has decreased well below the projections of what it was ever going to take to run and operate this. This facility is humming along. It's doing well. It's services several thousand customers of our city, and it again is one of those decisions that the council had made years ago that's paying off. And so I just don't see this decision as anything different than that, except again by us doing this and buying time so that we can build the PAC. We can develop our vision, and we can also, prime the development effort here with this. I just don't think it's a big price to pay, and I don't think it's a big risk we're taking. In addition, we now have a very capable economic development director, and that's part of the equation. I mean, Tim Johnson has years of experience, connections, and I'm confident that he's going to come through and help us to really develop our vision and construct our vision here. So I think it's the right thing to do, and I'm going to be voting yes on this. Thank you.
Councilmember Maloney?
Thank you. I just want to say I appreciate that we're a contemplative council and that we have an open, respectful dialogue. And I think that, the questions are all good, and they get us to where we need to be in order to make our decisions. I am very much on board with this proposal. I do think it's a small price to pay. And I like the acronym of where the money's coming from, the Strategic Opportunity Reserves. It means SOAR, and Federal Way is soaring. And so I'm really excited about it, and I'm looking forward to the vote. Thank you.
All right. Council, anyone else? The Councilmember, or Deputy Mayor Burbidge.
Thank you. I agree that I strongly feel that this is a very important decision, and that's why I voted to continue the discussion. This is a tremendous opportunity for us to take hold of our future in our downtown and to maximize the potential that is there. I really liked what I heard Scott Clark say about the opportunities that exist there. I've long felt that that's true. And having this opportunity to purchase this property that is so crucial to making something that we can all be proud of, to implement the vision that this city has had since its beginning, to have a walkable downtown, to have features that are attractive and appealing, a place where people want to stay after they've raised their families. People want to stay in Federal Way. Instead, they move to Port Ludlow or some other place. And those folks would really prefer, in many cases, to remain in the city where they raised their families. And this kind of development can offer those opportunities. But also, when we have this control and can recruit the businesses that will find it appealing, we will also be building our revenue base. And that revenue can help provide for the other needs that will continue to exist in our city. So I'm ready to make a motion if there isn't any further testimony. Or Lydia?
Did you have something?
Yes, please. Thank you. I don't think I have a whole lot to add to this, but I believe making this decision and moving forward is long overdue. People who've seen where we're at right now in terms of the park and where we're headed, I know a lot of people are excited about it, and so we can't stop now. I think we've started something. There's this momentum, so I believe continuing with this is really the best thing to do. And as Eddie said, when he was talking about the strategic reserve, that's what it's there for. And so I believe utilizing the resources that we have now and taking advantage of that. And also, when we were interviewing the youth today, one of the questions we asked them and our team was, why would you want to come back to Federal Way, or would you come back to Federal Way as an adult? And they all said yes. So what are we offering them when they come back to our city? Is it going to be the same city looking the same way that they left maybe when they go to college? Or are they coming back to something where they do want to raise their own children and bring other family members and bring other friends? And so we want Federal Way to be a destination where our children raise their children here. And so I'm really looking forward to this opportunity that is in front of us. And so I just appreciate the opportunity, and thank you. So, yes.
All right. Deputy Mayor Burge, do you have a motion?
Well,
Thank
actually,
you.
the motion's already been made, and it was seconded by
that's right.
Councilmember Duclos.
Okay, there we go. Okay. There has been a motion and a second and full discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
All right.
Deputy Mayor Burbidge,
Aye.
Councilmember Assefa-Dawson,
Aye.
Councilmember Maloney,
Aye.
Councilmember Honda,
Nay.
Councilmember Selsky,
Aye.
Councilmember Moore,
Aye.
Councilmember Duclos.
Aye.
Passes 6-1.
All right. Great. All right. Now moving on to ordinances. First reading and enactment. Council Bill 662, General Obligation Bond to Purchase Land. Staff presentation, just briefly, Ade.
Mr. Mayor, can I interrupt and ask for a motion to extend the meeting beyond 10 p.m.?
Yes.
So moved.
All right,
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to extend the meeting past 10 p.m. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
All right. The meeting is extended. Ade?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, Council. The ordinance before you, and again, I have the bond counsel here to be able to answer any question. The way it is set up is a tax exempt. That means that while the bond is outstanding, the property can only be used for government purpose, and that is only for 3 years. What this does is that we have 3 years for the city to decide which direction that we go. Just like the Chief of Staff said, the picture that was shown was intended to show us what is possible. What is possible for our downtown. So I think part of my previous presentation covers what is in the ordinance. Is for 3 years. It's a bank qualified note that is being sold to Key Bank, and at 1.51 tax exempt bond. It's only interest only that will be made June and December, and it's good for 3 years.
Okay. Councilmember Duclos, is there a motion to suspend the council rules?
Yes, I move to suspend City Council Rules 2.2-8 to allow first reading and enactment of the ordinance in one meeting.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to suspend the rules. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Would the city clerk please read the ordinance title?
Council Bill 662, General Obligation Bond to Purchase Land, an ordinance of the City of Federal Way, Washington, establishing a term loan and providing for the issuance and sale of a limited tax general obligation bond anticipation note in the principal amount not to exceed $8,500,000 to evidence the loan to be used to purchase land for city purposes and fixing the form, covenants, and terms of the note.
All right. Councilmember Duclos, do you have a motion?
Yes, I move approval of the proposed ordinance.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the matter passes. Item B, Council Bill 659, amendment to Title 19 for spa and water park uses in the city center. Staff presentation, Isaac Conlon.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of the City Council. I have a short presentation for you. So the policy question before you is, should City Council adopt an ordinance prohibiting both spas and water park uses in the city center core and the city center frame zoning districts? Just a little bit of quick background. Earlier this year, a property owner in town approached staff and expressed interest in developing a sort of a large entertainment venue type use. The major components of that use was a large spa and a large sort of family-oriented water park amenity. They also had some additional uses like a restaurant, a little bit of retail. That was called the Shangri-La Spa and Wellness Center. That combination of uses is an allowed use under the current zoning in the city center zoning districts. City Council, upon learning of this use, expressed some concerns in terms of the compatibility of those uses with our vision for the redevelopment of the city center going forward. And for that reason, a moratorium which prohibited development of that use for a period of 6 months was adopted. That was effective on June 3rd and it expires in early December. So staff looked at some options and proposed one of those options which would address the council's concerns. And so that option would be to prohibit spas and water parks in the city center and core and the frame zoning districts, but to allow spas as an accessory use to both hotels and health clubs at a limited square footage of 2,000 square feet, and then to create new definitions for these more specific uses that we're trying to regulate in greater specificity. One consideration I'd like to point out to you is that there is an existing business, the Palace Spa, which, if this package of zoning amendments are made effective, would become a legal non-conforming use. And so what that means is a legal non-conforming use is allowed to continue operation, but they're extremely limited in their ability to expand the use. We did have that gentleman that represents the business show up at the Planning Commission meeting and sort of represent his interests at that meeting. And then just to point out that spas and water parks would continue to be allowed uses in other zoning districts, other commercial districts in the city. So the Planning Commission, after fairly involved discussion and a number of questions to staff, took a slightly different path. The recommendation they forwarded to the Land Use and Transportation Committee would be to prohibit water parks as primary uses within these zoning districts, but they would continue to be allowed as accessory uses. There was no sort of square footage limitation that was placed. And then just to be really clear, there was no limitations placed on spas. So with the Planning Commission recommendation, spa uses would continue to be allowed use in both of these zoning districts. The Land Use and Transportation Committee also had some discussion on this topic
And the recommendation that they're forwarding to the City Council for your consideration tonight is to sort of revert back to the staff's original recommendation. And so just to repeat briefly, again, that would be to prohibit both water parks and spas as a primary use allowed in these zoning districts. Again, the spas would be allowed as an accessory use, and to create the definitions to regulate these uses. Like with the last use, the first motion again would be to suspend the rules because the moratorium is expiring in early December. So if you want this ordinance to be effective prior to expiration, you need to take that step. And the second item I have here is the main motion, and I'm glad to answer any questions.
Council, any questions? Councilmember Sapadowson.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. And you mentioned that the owner of the Palace Spa had a question, and I was reading the minutes from the Planning Commission, and his concern was about the 15% change. So has that been addressed, and what is the answer to his question then?
Yeah, let me go to another slide that I have here. So the issue that Councilmember Sapadowson is referring to is that, again, with a non-conforming business, as I mentioned, there are certain limitations imposed on that business. And to be more specific, the one that was raised was that if improvements are made to the structure, to the business, if those improvements exceed 15% of the value of that structure, then that use would no longer be allowed to continue as a non-conforming use. So it places that's what I was talking about in terms of a strong limitation in terms of expansion of the business. So the gentleman did come to the meeting. He expressed that would be a concern to him to not be able to expand his business. Planning Commission, based on their recommendation, was receptive to that concern, and so that's, I believe, why they eliminated the spa component from the proposal that goes forward. If Council adopts the Land Use and Transportation Committee's recommendation, then that would still be a concern to this business owner, so his concern would not be addressed. He would still have that limitation placed on his business.
I thought he said it wouldn't be addressed.
Because I think his concern had to do with the cost, right? So as cost increases, then it could affect or impact his business because he can't make the modification.
Well, yeah, I think his concern was, he expressed that he would like to have the potential to expand his business in the future. Mm-hmm. And, if the package as recommended by the committee goes forward, he'd be limited to less than 15% sort of improvement value in terms of an expansion.
Okay, Councilmember Maloney and then Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. Not really a question, but just an observation. This really fits in with the theme of the night, which is having control of the downtown core and our vision for our community. And so, that's why I believe that the Land Use Committee decided to go back to the original recommendation. And I really feel as if it gives us that continued control that we have been seeking. So thank you.
Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I'd like to thank staff and the Planning Commission for the work on this. We asked them to do something in a very quick time period in which they have a lot of other things that they're also doing. So thank you very much.
All right. Councilmember, Councilmember Duclos? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Councilmember Selsky.
Thank you, Mayor Farrell. And just to follow up with what Councilmember Maloney said, I agree in full. This is about our vision, and the fact that we disallow a spa in the city, the frame and the core, doesn't mean because you mentioned that they're allowed in other uses, other commercial zones. So they can be just outside of the zone we're talking about right here, which to me, in my mind, would fit. We have the Palace Spa that I guess remains as a non-conforming use, and so that has to satisfy the business owner somewhat. But there's, I believe, a hot tub company that exists just south of 324th, a hot tub spa business that's there, and so we will allow it, but just not in this area that we're trying to establish this vision. So, again,
Councilmember Duclos?
Just a question, are we talking about a standalone spa, sauna, or are we talking about something that's incorporated into a hotel?
standalone.
Okay, that's,
Yeah,
I just
Not
wanted,
the 2,000 square foot that can be incorporated into a.
okay, I just wanted that clarified for everybody.
Okay. Let's see here. Councilmember Selsky, is there a motion to suspend the rules?
I do have. I move to suspend City Council Rule 2.28 to allow first reading and enactment of the ordinance in one meeting.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so would the city clerk please read the title ordinance?
Council Bill 659, amendments to Title 19 for spa and water park uses in the city center. An ordinance of the City of Federal Way, Washington relating to spas and water park businesses, amending Federal Way Revised Code 12.40.010, 19.05.080, 19.05.190, 19.05.230, 19.225.030, and 19.230.040.
All right. Councilmember Selsky, do you have a final motion on this issue?
I do. I move approval of the proposed ordinance.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, passes, and unanimously. And our very own Isaac Conlon is going to be a father this Saturday with twins.
Oh,
Yeah, so congrats. And Isaac, I can tell you, as being a twin myself, you are in for a big ride. Good luck. Yes, actually, you are hereby excused. Exactly. All right. Thank you very much. Good work. All right. All right. Now we're on to the first reading. Item C, Council Bill 660, the 2015-2016 biennial budget. We have a staff presentation by Ade, which we hope will be merciful. Gosh.
Good
forget it.
evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council. What we have before you is the 2015-2016 biennial budget and ordinance to approve it. The current proposed ordinance in council packet reflects the proposed budget and the adjustments as a result of our budget deliberations on November 4th, 2014. We came, we listened, and we adjusted. So based on your comment, we've made some changes, and thank you for your comments. The changes that we made, the community development, we added $29,685 to the 2015 budget to reflect the balance of the critical area consultants contract of $75,000 that will be left over in 2014. So that in 2014, we have $75,000 in their budget for this particular contract. So the $29,000 is the portion that they will not spend that we're rolling over into 2015. So we amended that into the proposed ordinance before you. Again, based on your comments, the mayor's office, we added the $25,000 to 2015 budget to reflect the unspent amount for the branding initiative as of the end of 2014. So based on your comment, we are putting that back. And also, based on your comment, we're adding $75,000 for the branding initiative. So we have a total of $100,000 in 2015 budget for the branding initiative. Other changes that were made, this is pretty much a boo-boo on my part. I added $100,000 to the beginning balance. This will not affect the revenue or the expenses. It's the ending fund balance that we're expecting in Ontario Street.
and we just carry it to the beginning balance in 2015. So this is from your B4. In your the proposed budget, this is what we have in there. And if you look at the bottom number here, that is what I have here. And these are the adjustments that I just went through with you. And the new number that is in the Exhibit A that is in your ordinance should match what we have at the bottom here. So I'm trying to tie what we had in the proposed budget and what I have in the ordinance before you to see the changes that we made based on your comments to arrive at the new number. So again, the community development, all we're doing is just carrying the ending balance in 2014 into the beginning balance. I'm planning to spend that carryover. The same thing for the branding initiative, the extra $75,000. We're assuming that total in general fund we will have $75,000 on spend, and that is why that is also in the fund balance, and we're showing that. And the arterial street is just $100,000 that I left out of the beginning fund balance. We're not spending it. We're not, it's just reflected as beginning and ending fund balance. So,
Hey, council, any questions? All right, I think that reflects the mastery of, for those watching at home and here in the audience, we're starting to refer to Ade as the professor. So thank you very much for all your work, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, would the city clerk please read the title?
Council Bill 660, 2015-2016 Biennial Budget, an ordinance of the City of Federal Washington relating to budgets, finance, adopting the 2015-2016 Biennial Budget.
All right. Councilmember Duclos, do you have a motion?
Yes, I move to forward the proposed ordinance to the December 2nd, 2014 City Council meeting for enactment.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve for first reading the 2015-16 biennial budget. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now item D, Council Bill 661, 2015 property tax levy. Staff presentation a day.
Thank you, Mayor. Quickly, before I start, I need to share something, and I wish I thought about this before. One of my colleagues sent out an email to all of the cities within King County to ask them what they've done about the property tax levy. She sent out to 39 cities, and out of 39, 38 responded, and 33 of them are either using 1% or 1% plus, and 5 are considering that some of them are doing it tonight. So out of 39 cities in King County, 33 of them have levied 1% or 1% plus for their property tax. So I got that in the email around 4 o'clock, so I just thought I'll share that with you. The legislative question before the council, are we in compliance with RCW 8455-120? RCW 8455-01, there are so many red tapes that we're supposed to go through. So it's a 550101. What is the percent increase over last year, and other than the new construction? What is the rate? How does it compare to other entities? Like I said, out of 39, 33 have already levied this. Are we in compliance with RCW 8452-020? For the RCW 8455-120,
we're supposed to do at least a single public hearing in order to deal with this, specifically authorizing the increase in terms of both dollars and percentage. We've done the public hearing. And what we're presenting to you is also the rest of the ordinance before you includes both the dollar amount and the percent. According to RCW 8455.010, we must stay within the limit factor. Yes, we're staying within that. 8455.0101, authorization for taxing district to use either additional 1% or less. You know, so we're using 1%. It shall be the duty of the city council or other governing body of every city other than a city having a population of 300,000 or more. So we need to certify to the King County, whatever it is that you're levying, and that will come before the council. We did a public hearing November 4th and today. We used a limit factor of 101%. The old rate that the city levies is 1.396 per 1,000. The current rate that we are proposing that it will be 1.254 per 1,000. The percent increase in terms of total dollar amount is 0.59%. The property tax revenue increase of 60,000 plus new construction over last year. And we will certify the ordinance and the levy to King County the day, by December 5th based on their requirement. This is the rate history for 2014. For properties within City of Federal Way, they were paying 15.74674 per thousand. The portion that comes to the city alone is 1.39626. These are all the other taxing districts within the City of Federal Way. So, and as you can see, out of this 15.74, 8.2, which is more than 50%, is voted on by the citizens. And this is just a graph of what you just saw. This is City of Federal Way. This is what comes to us. And out of $1, this is the portion that belongs to the city. Just a small portion. So out of the tax, $1 tax that the citizens pay, this is the portion that comes to the city. Other jurisdictions collect all of this. If we compare ourselves to other jurisdictions around us, starting from 2004, this is where we are. If you look at 2014, Federal Way is 1.4, Kent 1.65, Auburn 2.17, Burien 1.6, Renton 3.15, Seattle 3.05, SeaTac 3.10. We're still the lowest of them all. And here we are. So should the City Council increase the regular property tax consistent with the 1% limit factor as authorized by the state statute? So I'll be glad to answer any question.
Council, are there any questions? All right, seeing no questions, would the city clerk please read the ordinance title?
Council Bill 661, 2015 Property Tax Levy, an ordinance of the City of Federal Way, Washington, fixing the property tax amount for the year of 2015.
All right, Councilmember Duclos, do you have a
I move to forward the proposed ordinance to the December 2nd, 2014 City Council meeting for enactment.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for first reading passage. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The matter passes. Council reports, Councilmember Dawson.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I just want to say I'm excited about the Youth Commission. I really am. And I did attend the Summit on Homelessness. And like the mayor earlier said, there was a huge attendance, but what was really great is the camaraderie and how people really feel about our community and how they want to support and help those who are less fortunate. And I also appreciate the mayor's commitment to working on this issue and addressing it in our city, because it's very crucial and important to take care of people who are homeless and who are needy in our community. So thank you, Mayor, for that commitment.
All right, thank you. All right, Councilmember Lunny.
Thank you. I, along with a lot of other people, attended the Veterans Day activities, both at the by the mall where the new flag is. It was really quite impressive, and it was a lot to be. There was a lot to be proud of. And then at Todd Beamer High School, where the Historical Society and the Kiwanis and Judge Larson helped kind of lead the way in recognizing our veterans. It's an annual event that they do there. It's really quite impressive, and if you haven't been before, hopefully you'll go next year. It's just really phenomenal. I also attended the Communities and Schools of Federal Way fundraiser that they had, and it was a fun event, but always for a good purpose, and it supports mentors and not sure what they're called, I think counselors, going into the schools. So that's a great program for our students. I also wanted to attend the homeless event, the event that was put on to combat homelessness, but that was the night of the great windstorm. And I ended up with quite a bit of damage at my house, and it started pretty early, actually. So we had a hole in our roof, a hole in the side of our house. We had some damage. But at any rate, it's all being fixed, no big deal. But I do want to be involved in that. I'm really glad to hear that the city is partnering with those groups to move that those initiatives forward. And I want to be the first to say Happy Thanksgiving. It's right around the corner, and I hope everyone has a nice holiday.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. On Saturday evening, the Chamber of Commerce had their annual auction and gala. 160 people attended, according to the Chamber CEO. Of those, the mayor was there, Jean Burbidge was there, Lydia Dawson was there, I was there, and it was a great event. But what was really super great about it was that the Chamber recognized two individuals in our city for their contributions to our city. One was businessman Jeff Stock, for all that he's done for the city of Federal Way. And the other was Peggy Laporte for Fusion and for her vision for helping Fusion along the way and creating that program. I'd also like to thank the Human Services Commission for their work on their recommendations for funding human services for the next 2 years. I have not served on that commission, but I attend their meetings, and I've talked to many of those commissioners over the years, and they put in hours and hours of volunteer time to read all the applications. They had over 70 applications this year. And they read each and every application, and they debate what we can fund and what we can't fund, because we can't fund every single application that comes to us as much as they would like to and we would like to. It's just not possible. But thank you to them for all of their work. I attended the Arts Commission retreat last week along with Deputy Mayor Burbidge, and that was a very interesting evening. But thanks again to those commissioners for what they do and the time that they put into serving the city. And I just want to give a quick explanation to those listening to when we appoint citizens to commissions, excuse me, you'll often hear us say a voting member and a non-voting member. The only difference between the two is a non-voting member just doesn't vote, but they are expected to be at every commission meeting like everyone else. They're expected to put in the time to study, to work, to do whatever that commission does. And oftentimes the non-voting members end up being a voting member when a position is available. So it's still a great honor to be named to one of our commissions, and we still thank all those people who apply. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Salsky.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Farrell. So I'm really proud of how our community rallied around veterans on Veterans Day, and actually the event started the day before with Todd Beamer had an assembly, and they had a wounded veteran retired veteran come and talk, and he was Navy Corpsman Senior Chief Jeffrey Sinchak, who talked about what it is to be a veteran, what it means to serve, and putting your life on the line. And the students were very receptive to this. So then, of course, we had the flag raising the next day, and then Councilmember Maloney mentioned about the honoring our own put on by the Kiwanis and the Historical Society. And that was a great event because it was attended by a lot of veterans. I'm going to say there were 60 maybe there, something like that. Yeah. Every veteran had their name read, stood up, received a flag from one of the junior ROTC students. So it was, I could just, some of them were even tearing up. They were so proud. And it was just a great event. So thank you for bringing that up. But I was really happy with the Todd Beamer Air Force Junior ROTC and the band, because they supported 3 events in 3 days, and 2 of the events occurred on a day they were off, and they were all there, and they were proud to be there. So I was very happy to see that, and thank Major Jones, who heads up that effort. As a Federal Way alumni, I was happy to be at the football game in the playoffs Friday night, where Federal Way had a redemption against Union High School, who beat us the first game of the season. And then in the playoffs, the Eagles on Friday night had a great victory over this team at the Memorial Stadium, and move on now to the quarterfinals. So go Eagles. Lastly, the Land Use and Transportation Committee meeting, the next meeting will be scheduled for Monday, December 1st, right here at 5 o'clock in council chambers. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Certainly a lot of events, a lot of meetings to attend. Of some, I have attended the King County Mental Health Legislative Forum last week. Lots of things I walked away with, and obviously the importance that of continuing to advocate for mental health. Also have attended veterans events. All were absolutely amazing. And also had the opportunity to attend the Sound Alliance meeting. I think that was held last week. And that's, like stated by some of my colleagues here, that was an important meeting. Homelessness is a big priority of mine. And that's something I'm going to be working towards, and I hope to accomplish part of that in 4 years. And I'm excited to be working with the mayor on that. I'm excited to work with my colleagues on this, and of course the community. Homelessness is obviously an epidemic problem, and I believe personally that we can end homelessness. It's going to take a long time, it's going to take a while, but it is possible. And I look forward to going on that journey with stakeholders and everybody else. Also, I wanted to mention for one more time that the celebration of life of Representative Roger Freeman ceremony is going to be held this coming Saturday at 1 o'clock. I think we're going to be blown away. This is truly in the spirit of Roger. It's the only way he would have done it. And I'm just inviting the public that's listening and anybody in the audience and anybody to attend that. Again, it's going to be this coming Saturday at 1 o'clock to 3 p.m. at our Savior's Baptist Church. That's located on 320th. With that, that's it. Thank you.
And my understanding is the governor and his wife will be in attendance.
That's exactly it. We're going to have the governor and the mayor and all the elected officials and community members in attendance. So.
All right. Thank you. All right. Deanie?
It's always last. I hate to. I'll try to keep it short due to the lateness of the hour, but there were a couple of things. I attended the Policy Issues Committee of the Sound Cities Association. Councilmember Moore came along as my guest, and there were a couple of important things that would impact us, and I need some kind of feedback on it because it wasn't voted on this time, but it's going to be voted on next month. The two items, the first one has to do with lifting the property tax lid, the 1% property tax lid, and this is being, Washington Association of Cities has drafted a legislative agenda which includes the support for lifting that, and I won't go through what it supports, but these taxes fund priorities such as public schools, fire protection, public libraries, and they're the largest source of tax revenue for local government and the third largest for the state general fund. So that's something that I'm going to need to take some direction back on whether I'm going to support that motion or not, and I don't know how to do that. And I've asked the city attorney to see what she can do or how we handle that. The second one is important to us also because we have a lot of parks, and it has to do with recreational immunity, which would have legislation that would clarify that the scope of recreational immunity in our state, and it clarifies the potential dual purpose of land that does not reduce the scope of the immunity, meaning the state Supreme Court decision created a type of potential liability for local governments, recreational trails and facilities, and encourages decision to revoke existing access privileges. So, meaning if somebody's using a trail or falls and twists their ankle or breaks, we would be liable under this new way that they're looking at it. So this could be a big liability issue for us, and I think that's something that we want to stay up on and support SCA in whatever they come up with.
Councilmember Duclos, when is the next meeting?
I believe it's the second Wednesday of December.
So it'll be after our next city council meeting.
Yeah.
So,
We have placed this discussion on the FEDRAC agenda, so it will be discussed, we can discuss it at next Tuesday's meeting.
So it would make it to the next council meeting in time?
yeah, our next council meeting is on
Yes,
December 2nd.
it would be on the
Yes.
2nd.
Yeah.
Just make it, okay.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, Deputy Mayor Burbidge.
Thank you. The hour is late. I'll be brief. I just wanted to mention, and I can elaborate later, we had our regular meeting of the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee last week and had some important reports. I really don't want to get into them at this point, but stay tuned for that. We did talk about the tourism website and the need to do some fine-tuning there. And this morning I attended a meeting of the South County Area Transportation Board, and there were some very interesting reports. One was on maintenance of bridges in the region and the state, but again, it's rather lengthy. I won't go into it tonight. And I just would like to extend my wishes also for a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday, and hope that everyone has a very rewarding time with friends and family.
Thank you, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving. With that, we are adjourned.